connection security protocols now active. JumpNet nodes 1 through 11 appear to be stable. Transmitter and transceiver parameters on all nodes are within operating temperatures. Primary transmitters operating correctly. We are go across the board for transmission. Greetings, wingmates. I hope that you are well in whatever temporal situation you may find yourself in. Greetings, Bone Miser and Starship AI. Welcome to the convoy. Oh my, Starship AI, you may wish to check your transmission parameters. You are having some garbling even on your text. I have not seen that before. I think that your Unicode is leaking a little bit. And Koopa and Lion Chops, welcome to the convoy. Excellent. I'm glad that you are doing a little better now, Starship AI. That was a little concerning. We don't like security breaches in our chat console, so it is good that all has stabilized. How are you today, wingmates? It is good to be back. I know that I have attempted to have a data stream a little bit earlier within the week, or I suppose what would be described on Terra as last week. But circumstances dictated that that was not going to be possible. So instead, today, we will be playing Thust and Shoot Flight School, a very compact indie game that does Newtonian simulation of a three-dimensional, I suppose, flight model. It'll be very interesting. Lion Chops, I'm glad that you had some dinner. Dinner is very important, as you do require sustenance to survive. And Blue Ramen Raccoon, welcome to the convoy. Good to see you here. Alright. So, I think that I am definitely looking forward to demonstrating this particular simulator. So, wingmates, allow me to bring it online, and I will show you what the system is like. Let's see here. 1 second, please. Now, before I go any further, ME, welcome to the convoy. Here is the game Link. Let's see here. So I'll be attempting to actually demonstrate 2 particular simulations from this developer, Hellride Games. This is Thust and Shoot, which is their released game, and they also have a demo of their upcoming game, Capital Command, which is, as the name implies, much more about commanding capital class warships rather than fighters. Alright, without further ado, why don't we proceed on to the simulation, wingmates? And here we go. Alright, allow me to get the capture operating correctly. Let's see here. Come on. There we go. That should be sufficient. Have you heard about the heat wave on the west coast of North America? I have heard rumblings within the communication sphere that I am in, through my access to the Terran JumpNet node, that there is some sort of particular heat event occurring within that continent. Are you experiencing it right now yourself? Let's see. There we go. That's why it was not becoming visible. There we go. Wazimat, welcome to the convoy. And yes, this is a bit of a drum beat. All right. East Coast is also sweltering. I see. So it is universal heat. You're on the west coast of Canada and has died down here, but it was getting to 36 degrees Celsius by 11 a.m. That is a concerning temperature. I would not be comfortable if my life support system allowed my particular immersive fluid to reach that, as that is body temperature, and I would perish rapidly unless my blood was being chilled, which would not be the ideal situation. Capital Command looks like an ideal simulation for me. Well, Starship AI, I do hope that we can get to it. Let's see here. Alright, well, let's begin with small fighters, shall we? Alright, here we go. So, I think I will demonstrate basic flight to show what the game is like without having any particular pressure on us. Alright, there we go. Follow instructions to learn basic flight controls. Press escape to pause the game and review useful information. So this game is fairly self-explanatory once you do look at the controls. Let's see here. I would hope that a Starship AI would be good at capital ship simulation game. Ah, that is a good test to run, Starship AI. And Anti-Clay 1, welcome to the convoy. Ooh, what kind of humidity are you experiencing in this northern Florida, Anti-Clay? Is it perhaps above 90%? That would be rather dismal with high heat. Alright, so why don't we start? Let me know, wingmates, if the audio is a little bit too loud. Let's see here. So, we are currently in the launch tube of the Challenger, which is the capital ship that we are based on. So, the controls of this game are fairly straightforward. If you're utilizing some sort of mouse, pointing device, you would utilize the various axes of the mouse, either up, down, left, or right, and the mouse wheel for controlling your vessel. So let's launch. There we go. However, I am using a joystick, so I will instead be using that. Right, so I'm currently rotating around, and I'm going to be braking so that we can continue on with the game. Let's see, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. And there we go. So I've come to what is effectively rest relative to the Challenger. Since the Challenger is my target, and all velocities in the battle space here are relative. Meaning that they are measured in regards to the target in question. I'm glad that all systems are go, Lion Chops. My systems are also all go. So, looking at the layout here, what we have is, we have the controls for pitch, for yaw, and for roll. Now roll, if you were playing this with a mouse, would be utilizing the mouse wheel. However, roll is not strictly important for this particular simulation. There are only two other controls that I'm aware of, at least that I could say beyond the ones necessary for changing your targeting systems. You have one button, which is typically the primary button on the mouse 1, dedicated to shooting, which we are not currently enabled to do so. And there is also the second button, which is dedicated to thrusting. You have no control over the magnitude of the thrust, only whether or not your primary drive is active. I would assume this vessel looks very much like a Viper from Battlestar Galactica. In fact, this entire game has a very Battlestar Galactica-esque vibe to it. Let's see here. Ah, Rippy, welcome to the convoy. Good to see you here. So, because this is a Newtonian physics game, we will have a vector of our velocity, and if we do nothing else, by not thrusting, we will maintain that vector. So let me demonstrate this. We are required to go within 500 meters of the Challenger. So I will simply point myself towards it, and I will thrust for about 5 seconds. Let's see here. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5. So we have hit 84 meters per second in the direction towards Challenger. And I'm going to turn around in order to brake, because I am unable to actually use directional thrust. So I'm now putting myself at 0 relative velocity to the Challenger. In fact, we are going a little away from it. As you can see, the standby indicator, or the flyby indicator, has turned red, which means we are actually never going to fly by the Challenger. We're headed away from it at a velocity of 0.7 meters per second. Now, our computer is still targeting the mines, and by default, if you're using mouse controls, you would use the page up or down buttons. There are also controls for locking onto the immediate target under your cursor. So if you find another mine, which we cannot, as they are unfortunately hidden. So, one thing to note. She's not gonna like that. I see, Anti-Clay. Who's not going to like that? The mine or the Challenger if we were to collide with it? Let's see. So, if we look at it, we actually have a reflector sight. The entire middle third of the screen is a reflector sight. So if we actually leave the sight's ability, the surface of the glass upon which the display is reflected, we can see that the mine is no longer visible. So this is one thing that makes the game a little bit more difficult. So the green circle here is our lead indicator. This is where we have to align our guns in order to get a hit on the object in question. So as you can see here, it has given us the go-ahead to shoot, or that it is ready to fire. Ready to fire means that we do not have the target on screen, but we are within range. And shoot means that we have the target within us. The 5-second thrusting joke. I am sorry, Anti-Clay. As you can see, I was a little bit too focused on the wonders of Newtonian flight to recall my own humanity. Alright. So, one thing you should note here is that the mine is approximately 625 meters away from us, but it would take 1.55 seconds for the shots to reach it. Now, I've done some rough back-of-the-envelope calculations, and this indicates that the gun velocity is approximately 400 meters per second, which is surprisingly low velocity. I'm assuming these projectiles are rather slow relative to what even a 21st century autocannon could produce, which is a velocity of typically 1,000 meters per second. Indeed, too fast. Alright, so let's pull the trigger on the mine. Oh, I accidentally thrust, so I'm going to stabilize my velocity again. So, one thing I will describe before we go any further is that you see indicated on our screen here a white circle with a blinking white dot. This is our forward velocity vector. And behind us, with the X, is essentially the other end of our vector. So, relative to where we are traveling, relative to our target, this right here indicates that we are headed in this direction. Whereas the X here indicates that we are leaving the target. So let me thrust towards the mine. As you can see, we are actually headed at 27 meters per second towards the mine. We are only 300 meters away, and we will have an 8-meter flyby with the mine. So now we can actually adjust our vector by burning up. Ooh, we got a little too close to the mine there. So let's zero our velocity out relative to the other mine. So we are roughly zeroed out because we are at 0.28 meters per second. And there's the Challenger once again. So why don't we use our range, and let's take a look how long these autocannon shells will take to hit the mine. Oh, there we go. And impact should be now. There we go. Let's hit the other mine. Now, as you can see, we have a bit of velocity. So the direction of our travel vector is perpendicular to our orientation to the mine for the moment. Now, if we look at the little radar indicator that is in the bottom center of the screen, we can see that our forward and terminal flight vector indicators are actually visible on the radar. And when you have the forward in the left side of it, of the radar indicator, and the trailing indicator on the right, that means that you are perpendicular. Let's see here. So, as you can see, we actually have to lead the target a little bit, because we are traveling 90 degrees perpendicular to it. So let's fire off a burst here. Now, our guns overheat, which is why I'm only doing very short bursts. And as you can see, now that we are much further away, we have much more gun scatter. So we may need to make several bursts in order to knock out this particular mine. There we go. We finally destroyed the mine. Your ship does look like my Battlestar Raptor model. Yes, this is likely a Raptor-esque craft. And the Challenger herself does behave similar to a base. This is most impressive for the price point in Terran currency. I do agree indeed, Starship AI. This is indeed a very impressive game for the single developer that worked on it, and for the price point. So let's knock out the other mine. Now, we only have limited fuel, and we have limited munitions, and we can take damage. So we must keep those things in mind for when we are dealing with it. Okay, now we actually have an active target that we need to be able to intercept. We are 12 kilometers away from the fighter, and our relative, let's zero out our relative velocity to it. There we go. We have roughly close enough for government work. So why don't we put ourselves at roughly 200 meters per second to the fighter? There we go. There's our forward vector. And as you can see, I'm actually adjusting my thrust vector in order to get as close as possible to it. Or put our flyby as close as possible to the fighter. I want to get closer in order to have my munitions be more tightly grouped. Cooling is a problem with directed energy weapons, and with kinetic weapons too, Anti-Clay. As you can see, we do run into heating issues as the barrels are getting rather hot, and there is no atmosphere to cool them. So we must use either active cooling through whatever means, or we must use radiative cooling. And I believe that these guns are cooled actively with channels running through the barrels. Alright, the fighter is now accelerating. As you can see, it has changed its vector, so we will also vector to continue intercepting it. We are going to do a flyby, firing guns. Giving it a cooldown, firing guns. Let's actually burn closer. I want to get a really tight pass. There we go. Damn, we had a jam. Alright, slowing down. That'll take us about 10 seconds to reverse our vector and actually get on a vector that is on an approach to the fighter. The fighter is actually approaching us. Let's see. Fighter is heading this way. Alright, here we have a lock. Or at least we have enough accuracy that it's not a waste using our munitions. Alright. Keeping at it. Burning towards it. Alright, it's changed its heading by the movement of the lead indicator. If the lead indicator is swinging wildly... There we go, there we go. Come on, come on. That means the fighter is changing its vector. We've jammed all of our guns. Let's wait till they unjam. Thrusting forward. There we go, there we go. True railguns have extreme friction at those high Mach speeds. These would not even be railguns. These are likely conventional cannons utilizing propellant. Let's see here. Come on, come on. Alright. We are at the extreme range of our gun's practical scatter range. So we're actually going to try to get a little bit of a closer flyby. There we go, adjusting our vector, since the fighter is actually headed this way. There we go. He is burning hard. Let's see if we can get a trailing shot. He is accelerating away from us. Our relative velocity is continuing to drop off. The enemy has greater acceleration than us. But we are within 1 second of flight time for our shells, and there he went. We need to decelerate relative to him and begin accelerating again. We are at 8 seconds of flight time, so this is a no-go shot. Here we go. Right, we are now at relative 100 meters per second. We're going to accelerate further and towards where his vector is. There we go. Let's continue adjusting our vector. There we go. 155 meter flyby. We jammed again. Alright, accelerating once again. The X means that that was the way we were headed, or headed away from previously. There we go. Controlled bursts. Controlled bursts. Alright. There we go. There we go. Enemy fighter destroyed. So to complete the mission, we need to return to the Challenger. So what we will do is cancel our velocity relative to the Challenger that was sideways. And we will now proceed to thrust towards the Challenger. There we go. So let's adjust our vector. We are 11 kilometers away, so I can easily get to 300 meters per second relative to the Challenger, and it won't be too much of an issue. So that is in 3 seconds, we will have 1 kilometer of travel relative to the Challenger. Thank you, Attenborough, and welcome to the convoy. And Danny Duffel, welcome to the convoy. This feels like my dad is trying to teach me how to fight space pirates. I may be teaching you right now, in that sense. We're sorry, that last message was a mistake. Oh, Anti-Clay, there are no mistakes here. We are all learning. So I am getting awfully close to the Challenger. I'm only 1.5 kilometers away, so I'm going to begin deceleration. As you can see, my... Ooh! And as you can see, I didn't decelerate fast enough. Luckily, I've completed this mission before, so I don't care if we just simply move on to the next one. Recoil? I'm not sure if recoil actually affects my velocity. I'm not sure that was taken into account, but I would have to check by emptying my entire magazine and seeing if the velocity changes. But we can pay attention to that. Alright, let's take a look at our obstacle course here. Alright, here we go. And launch. Okay, so we have our start gate that we need to travel through. So, the guns do not affect our velocity much, or at all. I think that was not taken into account. Right, guns have been tested, they are operational. Let's take a look here. Let's adjust our vector so we actually enter the gate. Now what I will do is actually slow down my vessel. I do not like how fast we are going. I'm going to go down to 80 meters per second relative to this first gate. Now the gates that we will be flying through are stationary relative to each other. So now I will demonstrate instrumentation flying. So wingmates, as you can see in my lower guide here, I am actually here we go. There we go. Okay. Come on, come on, come on. Alright, there we go. That should be adequate. Where's this gate? Thrusting sideways. There we go. Okay. Allow me to take a screenshot quickly, wingmates. And I will show you what I am doing. Actually, I will show you what I'm doing a little bit later. Okay, there we go. I'm thrusting sideways in order to vector myself into position. Okay, where's this next gate? Alright, burning backwards, slowing down, and adjusting my vector to the gate. There we go. I need to adjust it a bit forward. Oh, nope, 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 nope. There we go. Alright, we've made it through this gate. We can actually give ourselves a little bit more forward velocity. Sideways. Right, we should be able to enter this gate. Let's see, let's give ourselves a little bit of correction. Okay, here we go. Let's see. I like the maneuvering of your ship. Seeing craft in space maneuver like an aircraft in atmosphere has always bothered me, like in certain movies. Star Wars. Yes, that is a bit of an issue. Okay, let's see here. Right, that should get us within the gate. There we go, there we go. Come on, come on, come on. Let's give ourselves a little vertical velocity. There we go. Where's the next gate? Next gate, we need to adjust our heading down. Braking. Relative velocity is 58. Alright, let's see here. Where are we going? Let's give ourselves a little bit more positioning this way. There we go. Okay, moving on to the next gate. Thrusting backwards. And there we go. And after this gate, I will demonstrate what I am doing in the instrumentation, because we are currently engaged in what is essentially pure instrumentation flying. Okay, so wingmates, allow me to... let's see here. Run in background. No, please don't. There we go. Okay, we've paused the simulation. Let's see here, wingmates. Allow me to do a little bit of, artistic endeavors here to show you what I am doing. So, allow me to bring up Krita, as I think this will be most helpful as a whiteboard. Okay, 1 second please. Allow me to find the screenshot that I took. Let's see here. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so. 1 second please, wingmates. So I think that because it is very difficult to explain what I was doing on the fly, as one of the issues was, how shall I describe this? The instrumentation flying with vector controls is not intuitive. Now, 1 second, please. Allow me to grab. I like to learn how you and your ship cope with initial forces. Well, me and the wishful thinking, which is my courier vessel. We cope with it by having me immersed within a suspension tank, an acceleration tank, so that the fluid can distribute the intense acceleration forces across my body. And my vessel deals with it simply by being constructed very soundly. So, so here is an important point that I would like to make. So, allow me to grab a proper color here, one that is visible on this screen. And let me grab a proper brush. So this radar is incredibly important for any sort of navigation within this particular simulation. So this inner circle represents generally the forward orientation of our vessel, and this would be nose forward. So if we use a top-down view, this would be our front right here, front. And we also have all of these other directions. So here we have for other directions. We have left, we have right, and then we have back. So this outer ring right here, this space in between it, entirely represents the back of our vessel. Allow me to make this a little bit smaller. So essentially, the way one can see this particular chart is if we draw our vessel as a cone going this direction in space, we can essentially extrapolate that the back is represented as this field right here, and that the front is its own conical field facing forward in our flight direction, and that up, down, left, and right are essentially these slices out of this, not hourglass shaped, but I don't know what shape this would be called. So left and right would be, this is very difficult to do. Let's see here. So here would be our little cuts that we would make in our disk to indicate where up, down, left, and right are. So let's just demonstrate up. Up would be this slice here. There we go. This slice. Basically, all of this space going out this way would be up. So anything that you find that is in your radar located here would end up being projected right here. Anything, for example, if you have in the rear, would end up being projected somewhere here on the radar. And this goes doubly for our vectors. So we actually have our forward vector right here, and we have our backwards vector right here. This is, let's see here. Yes, Coke bottle would be one way to call this. So if we take a look at this chart here, this means that our forward vector arrow is facing this way, and the arrow going backwards with the fletching. So one of the conventions in most fields of mathematics is that when you have a vector, which is something that has an origin point, a direction, and a magnitude, the direction being important, this is not a segment. This would be a segment which has no particular directionality. But because we have an arrow here, this is a vector. And typically, if you have something going into, say, a piece of paper, let's just say like this, we have our vector punching through a piece of paper, we would actually represent the origin point of the vector as fletching, and it would look like this. Because if you look at an arrow from the back, well, a typical three feathered arrow would look like this, but or like this rather. Although arrows do oftentimes have a bit of a helical nature to them. Sorry, this way. So you would have something like this instead. But this is one of the most intuitive ways, Starship AI, that I have seen for biological creatures to see their vector projected onto their flight path. Marty, you're not thinking four-dimensionally. We are not indeed. We do not need the fourth dimension, although we do actually care about the temporal dimension very much so. Although I guess time is the fourth dimension in most cases. So if we're looking right here, what we can assume is that when we were flying, from the center of our ship, our vector is going this way. And if we hadn't adjusted our course a little bit this way, we would have actually not gone through the center of the vessel. So, one of the important things that I was doing that was actually very difficult to demonstrate, wingmates, is, say for example, so one of the things that apologies. I'm going to delete everything. Oh, I'm going to delete... I'm actually going to re-add the screenshot again on another layer. 1 second, please, wingmates. Here we go. Here we go. Insert this new layer. And I will actually draw on top of this. So, right now, one of the most important things is that your screen, when you're flying this ship, will have a big plus in the middle. And that is which way your engines will essentially be pointing. Now, say, for example, we had our gate right here. This is where our gate was relative to the front of our ship and our velocity. Let's just say this is our tail, and this is our front. So, this essentially means that relative to a gate in space, so let's do a top-down view. This means that relative to a gate, and let's just use 2 dimensions. Here is the gate that we want to approach. Our velocity is actually directed significantly off at a cant. So in this situation, what we'd want to do is maneuver our ship so that eventually we would see the a situation like this happening. So let me erase this right here. We would want to see our forward velocity here. We want to see our tail velocity here. And what we would want to do is, apologies, wingmates. We would want to make sure that when we actually burn, when we actually engage our engines, that we are burning in a way that makes this forward velocity vector right here move this way, so that eventually it will cross over onto the target. And that's what I've been doing all of this time, because due to the fact that I have such a narrow field of vision, I essentially am flying blind. I am flying only by my radar. And this is something almost every single pilot has to train with, because visual guides are no longer helpful. So what I'm doing is essentially aligning my crosshairs here and doing a burn. And this essentially is me doing this. So here is me, here is the gate, here is the vector. What I'm doing is I am rotating my vessel to this position, and I am thrusting this way. I am igniting my engines right here. Here's the ignition. And I am applying more velocity this way. So, when you do vector math, you add nose to tail, so our resultant final vector, which we want, would be this. We are trying to get through the gate. So, in essence, this screen here allows you to intuitively vector yourself into position. It's a bit of a crash course, but you don't really need to know too much. The main thing I'm trying to point out is that this particular radar is one of the most intuitive ways I have seen this particular thing done, and also without allowing for translation controls. Because right now we are only using our simple burns here, whereas if we had translational controls, which would complicate the control scheme, we could do thruster burns sideways in essence, to adjust our velocity sideways without activating the primary engine here. Kimmy Spice, welcome to the convoy, and it is never too late to learn indeed. So, I apologize for that small diversion here, but let's continue on with the simulation. I do hope that at least helped someone somewhere out there, if they were a little bit confused as to what I was doing. The main difficulty with this particular simulation is that it goes so fast that it is difficult to actually explain everything that's happening. Need an instrument rating on your pilot's license. Always anti-clay, always. Unless, of course, it is some sort of amateur hobbyist license, in which case you have visual flight only, and that would absolutely be inappropriate for any sort of flight. You call it a diversion, I call it learning. Well, I'm glad, Lion Chops. I'm very glad. So let us return to the simulation. Allow me to put away Krita for the time being. And here we go. Alright. Let's resume the mission. Alright, so I'm actually going to pause this very quickly. So, right here, we can see that our velocity is not aligned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it so that the line between these two vectors here, or that my vector line, is actually in line with the gate. So there we go. And I'm going to pause. And I'm going to miss that gate, I think. Alright. Burning, 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 burning. Come on, come on, come on. Ooh, okay, we collided, but we made it through the gate. Okay, here we go, here we go. Here we go. Oh, no, our vector's wrong, our vector's wrong. So I'm burning down. So just take a look at what I'm essentially... Oh, no. Ah, we missed that gate. We missed that gate. I'm going to restart this. I don't like that. Alright. Mission... Let's restart the mission. Alright. Let's try this again. Missing even one gate will make your time for the higher metals in this scenario much more difficult. And I lost a bit of my cool there. Alright, so... It doesn't matter when we reach the gate, so I will actually preemptively drop my relative velocity to the entire gate system to approximately 80 meters per second. 160 is far too much, as it gives me no time to reach, to adjust my vector to pass through the next gate by the time we have exited the first. So unfortunately, it does not give me the gates ahead of time, and I cannot prepare for it. As you can see, relative to the Challenger, we are headed quite a bit of ways. There we go. Alright. Let's boost a little bit this way. There we go. We are perfectly centered. Now, we can see the next gate is down here somewhere, so I will automatically align myself facing down relative to the horizontal plane. And I am thrusting so that my little white pip, so that my pipper is actually over the targeted gate. There we go. So the next gate should be approximately in this direction. I'm adjusting my pipper again. There we go. My pipper is on track. Next gate will be roughly... We'll have to thrust down. There we go. We are thrusting down and backwards to slow ourselves down a little bit. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good. There we go. Alright, need to slow down, so I am angling more towards the rear while also burning sideways to adjust my vector. There we go. We should fly through that gate. Where's the next one? We need to burn sideways and backwards to slow down. Oh, no, we've gone too far. There we go. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. We are 50 meters relative to this gate. Here we go. Or 50 meters per second approximately. Where's the next gate? Burn up, and burn reverse. Relative velocity is 47. We are nice and slow. There we go. Three-dimensional gate racing is a little more difficult than one expects. Okay, so let's align ourselves to the next gate, which should be that one over here. Oh, we are a little bit hot. There we go. All right. Aligning. There we go. Oh, no, we've gone too far. There we go, there we go. As you can see, I am just chasing... Basically, your forward vector will move towards... Will move towards whatever the front facing of your ship is if you burn. So I'm going to burn reverse hard here. Oh, we collided with the gate. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on. Let's slow ourselves down here. Damn. That's not good, but also not the worst thing that could have happened. Alright, next gate. Alright, so we need to adjust our velocity this way. There we go. Okay. That should be a fairly accurate injection here. There we go. Okay, next gate. Aligning ourselves. Burning, burning, burning. There we go. We've moved the white pipper onto the gate target. There we go. That radar is very handy indeed, Danny Duffel. Alright, burn reverse too. So one of the things to slow down that would help is if you aim more, not right in between the white lines. So let me pause this. So in essence, if you aim between the two white pippers here, you are actually burning 90 degrees relative to your velocity. If you burn slightly more towards the X pipper, which is the reverse of your velocity, you will slow yourself down relative to the object you are careening towards. And there we go, we've passed through it. Okay, we have a mine. We need to hit the mine immediately. Come on, come on, come on. There we go, next mine. 2 seconds, flight time. Just keep doing short bursts, short controlled bursts. Come on. There we go, next mine. If we don't get these, we will fail the course. Or we will have to stop. So these mines are a little bit fast. I'm going to slow myself down relative to the mines. Alright, here we go. Now we are at 45 meters per second relative to the mine. Alright, next gate is up ahead. We want to speed up a little bit, so what I'm going to do is just keep adjusting our velocity forward so that we are at about 80 relative to the gate. There we go. Okay, that actually should put us right through the gate, if all is well. I very much wish we had translational controls, wingmates, so that we could do fine precision tuning, but... Ah, yes, there's the cliff right there. We don't want to hit that asteroid. Excellent, there we go. Next gate is vertical. Thrusting, thrusting. There we go. Giving it short bursts. There we go. Perfect. That was one of our best passes yet. Next gate, south. We need to, or burn down, burn down, burn down. There we go, there we go. Okay, need to align the pipper. Okay, we're passing through it. We are almost on the right velocity. There we go, aligning the pipper. There we go. Next gate is that way, slowing down. We need to slow down a lot here. All right, come on, come on, come on. Adjusting. There we go, we got a pass. Oh boy, that's not good. All right, slowing down, slowing down. And there we go. Oh boy. Where's this gate? Alright, we are a little bit off course, so let's keep adjusting our pipper. We need to go a little bit up. There we go. Alright, that is perfectly aligned. Now let's see where the next blinking is. So gate 18 at 50 meters per second. We are a little bit slow here. Gate 19, alright. Flyby in 23 seconds. Alright, here we go. Need to adjust. Flyby 19 meters, flyby 45. We actually made that worse. There we go. So we need to speed up a little bit. Next gate will be facing this way. Excellent. Adjusting our relative vertical velocity. There we go. Give her a kiss to the left. There we go. Okay, now we have to destroy this command center. Let's get a little closer velocity to it so we have a better flyby. There we go. Alright, let's see if we can destroy this. Come on, come on. We need to go down. Damn it. Damn. Alright, we're going to have to kill our velocity and destroy the command center manually. We are going to waste time like this, unfortunately. Ah, and we have to destroy the storage here. Damn. Come on, come on, come on. We are almost out of range. Alright, next command center. Let's get our pipper going here. So we actually fly by them. 3 seconds. There we go. Damn, they are behind the cliff. Okay, that's a problem. We are way too close, so what we're going to do is we're going to brake and attempt to get them on a flyby here. Destroy this refinery. Damn, guns jammed. 3, 2, 1 for at least one of them. Come on, come on, come on. Anti-Clay, thank you for being with the convoy for as long as you could. I wish you luck in taking on your own mercenaries. Alright. Let's adjust our pipper to face the gate. There we go. Have a good time, Anti-Clay. Thank you for being with us. Alright. There we go. Relative velocity 65. We need to speed up after we goofed that up with that particular pass-through. Oh, that is a, we are actually going at it at a very strange vector. Next gate. Oh, we need to burn very hard. Alright. Burning vertical. Damn. There we go. Come on. Come on. That should be a pass-through. Let's give it a bit more forward. We do want some velocity. Next gate. All right. Braking burn. Come on, come on. There we go. Adjusting our pipper. Where? Oh, we'll pass through it. Good. Okay. Vertical burn. Ooh, okay, come on. Left burn. There we go. As you can see, wingmates, this truly is instrumentation flying. If you are not comfortable with the pippers, collision. Come on. All right, there we go. If you're not comfortable with the pippers, you will have a hard time here. All right, there we go. Ooh. And the finish line. So this one we can actually burn hard to get a better time. As long as we get enough accuracy. Let's see here. 14 meters per 14 meter flyby. We want to make sure that the flyby is as close as possible. And that should save us a bit of time. All right, let's return to the Challenger. Let's kill our velocity. There we go. And now we're going to adjust our velocity relative to the Challenger. As you can see, I am putting my crosshair behind the Challenger, and I'm waiting till my velocity pipper moves onto it. There we go. So we should have a 246 meter flyby, so let's adjust that. There we go, 24 meter. We got a silver medal, wingmates, so we actually improved the previous time I had on this course. Excellent. All right. So let's see here. This is a little bit slow, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to accelerate towards the Challenger, probably to around 200 meters per second relative to Challenger. And I will decelerate once I am within approximately 3 kilometers to 100 meters per second relative, since that will give me a 30 seconds for flyby. So I am braking now. I am relative 93, so I have about 20 seconds. And once again, I say this is instrument flying. And we're braking again to get our velocity within 50 meters per second relative, which is recovery velocity. So my pipper is not fully accurate. I want a closer flyby. There we go. I've adjusted my heading. Let's shoot the Challenger just for fun. There it is. All right. So we should be recovered once we're within 500 meters. That is the condition for completing this scenario. Perfect. And we got that silver medal. Excellent. All right, let's continue onward. So the way to get gold on that, or ace, which is the best possible time, would in all likelihood be accelerating very rapidly between gates, and also not taking so long on the actual shooting sections. So let's do the next scenario, point defense. So here we are essentially assigned to destroy missiles coming at the Challenger. Destroy enemy missiles before they hit the mothership. Enemy attack in progress. Mothership jump drive temporarily disabled. Launch immediately and intercept strike missiles. Do not engage enemy capital ship. Avoid direct enemy fire. Avoid friendly suppression barrage. Be prepared for emergency return when jump drive repairs are completed. Let none through. There we go. Alright, let's begin our launch here, wingmates. Because the missiles will not wait. The Conqueror is attacking. Ah, Sophior! Welcome to the convoy! I see that we have some raiders! Wingmates, prepare the point defense guns. We need to make sure that the munitions inbound do not intercept us. Alright, missiles have been launched. Let's target the first missile. We are 10 kilometers away from missile 1. As you can see, the Challenger is currently defending with flak against the incoming barrage from the Conqueror. Welcome, welcome! Sophior, how are you doing? How was your stream today? Alright, let's brake relative to the Challenger, wingmates. We don't want to be... Oh, there we go. So the missiles are going to slow down soon, and they will likely attempt to head towards the Challenger. Oh, here we go, here we go. Let's slow down relative to the Challenger. Okay, the missiles are now beginning their turn. So what we want to do is make sure that we get close to them. So let me maneuver my velocity pipper sideways. Let's see here. They are actually matching velocity with me slowly. Relative velocity 100, so we actually want to maneuver towards the Challenger. Alright, there we go. Here comes the missile. 5 seconds. Let's get closer to the flight. Here we go. Alright, we only have a limited time to intercept these missiles. Let's not overheat our main guns. Apologies, Raiders. I am a little bit focused on the missiles right now. I will get to you in just 1 second. Come on, come on. Come on. There we go. 1 flight destroyed. Switching relative velocity to Challenger. Cutting velocity and returning. There we go. Challenger is 2.5 clicks away, and we were nearly in the flak line, wingmates. So let's actually accelerate away from the Challenger. There we go. That is much better. We want to be away from the Challenger. Ah. You think you remember this part of Star Wars, you say, Sophior? Well, I don't recall Star Wars having any kind of Newtonian vectors, so this is a little bit different. This is, I suppose, closer to Battlestar Galactica, especially if you look at the way that the shells are being fired from the Conqueror towards the Challenger. Alright, incoming missile flight, so let's slow down relative to the Challenger. And let's make sure we grab our first missile to track. Okay. We have pretty much full fuel, we have almost full ammo. Let's see, the relative vector of the missile is approximately in this direction. I really wish I had a top-down view for this. Here we go, here we go. Okay, we need to make sure that we now begin accelerating a little bit this way. This is a little hard to do instrument flying with because we are trying to intercept. We are trying to intercept the missiles. Alright, here they come. Let's give it a little bit of sideways velocity so that we run a parallel intercept. Tankido, welcome to the convoy. And Raiders, welcome to the convoy. I do apologize. Alright, short burst, don't overheat the guns. Next missile, next missile. We have a really tight burst pattern here. Next missile, burn towards them, burn towards them. Damn, we got a jam. Damn, that one's gonna hit. Come on, come on, come on. Damn. Right, we need to reset our defenses. That one's gonna collide with the Challenger. Yes, there are a number of AIs in this part. Ooh, Challenger was struck. Alright, let's get our velocities. We are way too hot coming inbound on the Challenger. Let's cancel our velocity. 100. Oh, we are way too close. We are way too close to the Challenger. Alright. Let's put the Challenger behind us. And burn away. Right, at 150 meters per second, we should be on a healthy velocity away from the Challenger. Alright, let's move our rearward pipper towards the Challenger. There we go, perfect. And let's find the first missile. Alright, first missile is headed this way. Okay. We flipped around. There we go. Ooh, alright. Come on, come on, come on. The trouble is that the missiles have a mind of their own. They are more than able to adjust their own velocity. So what I'm going to do is brake relative to the missiles and begin accelerating towards the Challenger. Alright, there we go. Okay, going to burn a little bit sideways. There we go. Oh, nope, 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 burn too far, burn too far. It's a little bit hard sometimes with this. Alright, come on, come on. Burning towards the combat zone. There we go. Hopefully we'll get an intercept on these missiles. There we go. Come on, come on. Come on. Come on, come on, give me a shot. Alright, next missile. Alright, next volley. We have a good velocity with them. Come on, come on. Come on. Oof. Oh, oh! Oh, we almost had that scenario, wingmates. Oh, that would have been a good one. Well, because I actually have completed all of the scenarios, wingmates, I think that I will actually continue onward to the next one, since we simply do not have the time. So let me exit to the main menu. Oh, that was not correct. Let's see, exit to main menu. There we go. And to anyone joining us, here we go. Here's the game that we have been playing. This is Thust and Shoot Flight School, which is a three-dimensional Newtonian simulator. You became the very thing you sought to destroy. Indeed, our vector was way too similar with the missiles that we were intercepting, and thus we became a missile ourselves. That could have been corrected by a quick burn vertically, but I was not aware, as I was busy focusing on the missiles. So to anyone joining us, Raiders, I am Spacer Haywire. I'm an independent starship operator of the Courier Torch ship, The Wishful Thinking, and I deliver low-mass, high-value goods from system to system, overcoming the jump drive limitation that one cannot simply jump from deep within a gravity well to deep within another gravity well. And I utilize the conventional real space drives of my craft to do incredibly hard burns at 30 gravities or more to deliver goods for high premiums. Alright, wingmates, so now that we've attempted point defense, why don't we move on to assault? Now this is one of the harder scenarios that we are going to deal with. Essentially, this will revolve in us flying around an asteroid ring and attempting to destroy the turrets on it. This is a very challenging scenario, more challenging than dogfight in my opinion. Alright, so let's do assault. Now this is a very Battlestar Galactica feeling game, I will say. The launch tube, the arrangement of the guns on the fighter, and the pulsing drum music, which was Bear McCreary's hallmark when it comes to the soundtrack of Battlestar Galactica, at least the reimagined series. So, what we will do is we have to target these 5 separate installations that are mounted on this asteroid ring. So, at the present time, we will actually have a very slow flyby to reach them, since we are headed at a very relative velocity. It will take us approximately 2 minutes to reach it. Ah yes, Koopa, it is essentially Bear McCreary's soundtrack in some sense. I suppose spiritually, although it is not a direct copy. But I do like this bit of inspiration. So what we're going to do is attempt to take out the power generator and the turrets surrounding it. Now, I will say, for anyone who is, I suppose, at least vaguely versed in the ways of the way these targeting systems would likely work, these turrets are rather dumb. They do not account for constant acceleration. One of the things that allows you to target something is if you know that it has a constant velocity or if it has a constant acceleration, because then the formula is very simple. If something's velocity is acceleration is constantly changing, that will make it very difficult for you. However, a constant change of acceleration will also make something easy to target. However, these turrets are unable to accommodate that, as we will clearly demonstrate by orbiting this particular ring installation. Alright, incoming fire! So now we need to make sure that we constantly do some sort of velocity adjustment, so that we do not get shot at. As you can see, there are tracers already flying right by us. Alright, I am doing constant acceleration burns just to make sure that we do not run into the gunfire. So, alright, so I need to constantly keep burning, and even at maximum range, I need to constantly be adjusting. Oh boy, here we go, full burn, full burn. Oh, this is not good. Alright, we're going to do an orbit, wingmates. We're going to burn towards our target, and here we go, come on, come on. Oh, we got hit. Alright, come on. Ready to fire. Come on, darling. Come on. Alright, we got the power generator. That means we won't be shot at for at least a little bit. We can slow down our velocity and have a little bit of a turkey shoot with these turrets. Come on. Oof. Wingmates, if you've seen me play Free Space, this is a lot more intense than Free Space, because there is no shielding. Alright, enemy turrets are firing. Alright, we need to burn, 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 burn. We need to get that acceleration going. Alright, next turret inbound. Come on, come on, come on. It's probably firing at us. Alright, there we go. We are dodging fire. We are not dodging it, we are simply dodging where the fire will be relative to our current position. Greetings, Tyler. Welcome to the convoy. We are having a bit of a moment here. Alright, here we go, here we go, here we go. Alright, we need to orbit around here. Burn, 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 burn. Damn, we took a hit. Alright, hull is down to 18 out of 20 possible integrity points. Alright, doing a burn. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, here we go, more fire. So, one of the things you can see is that we are not aiming directly at the turret. We are aiming to where our shells... Essentially, I will demonstrate this once we are done with this scenario. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. Go down already. And there are way more turrets here than I anticipated. Alright. Oh! Ooh, ooh. Too close, too close. We need to get more relative velocity. Ah! And guns. Guns are damaged. Come on, come on. Come on. Oh, we have gunfire coming in from the other turret emplacements. Those guns look like they have a really nice kick to them. They do indeed. All right. Keep burning, keep burning. Come on. Come on. Ah! Damn! Alright, we are down to nearly half health. Ooh, come on, come on, come on, darling. Okay, we need to burn. We need to burn sideways and cancel our vector here. Alright, come on. We are down to... We are losing fuel. Alright, come on, come on. Alright, burn, 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 burn. As you can see, we do not have the skill necessary to actually be a very good fighter pilot here. So let's burn sideways to get that dodge going. Incoming shell, we need to dodge it. We need to stay away from these turrets. Alright, we're gonna burn to the center again. There we go. Come on, come on, one more turret. Burn sideways, burn sideways, burn sideways. We need to make sure we have good relative velocity. Come on, come on. There we go, slowing down. Let's break their targeting solutions. Oh, oh, that's not good. We're down to half health. Or more, less than half health. Come on, come on. Alright, we're gonna have to do a full orbit around this. We are likely going to not get a good medal on this scenario. Ooh. Come on, come on, come on. I really wish my targeting pip told me if I was actually getting the right shot on this. Or if I actually had line of sight to these targets. Come on, come on, come on. Ah, we are... And we're out of ammo. Can I ram it? Come on, come on, come on. Well, wingmates, we have failed that scenario completely because we are out of ammo. Alright, let's try this again. So mission, exit, restart mission. Whew, okay. So, while we have a little bit of a break here, wingmates, let me show you what is going on with what I am doing relative to our target here. Alright, let's see here. Come on, Krita. Don't do this to me. There we go. Okay, so let me get another paint layer here and hide everything else that I've had. Oh, that ring looks like a giant bit of, yes. Yes, it does, Emmy. It really does. Okay. Alright, let's see here. Okay, apologies. Alright, there we are, wingmates. So, let me show you what we have been doing with this particular scenario. So, one of the interesting principles of this sort of orbital combat, and once again, unfortunately, my drawing implement has decided to misbehave. So 1 second, please, wingmates. Allow me to demonstrate what we are doing here. Okay, so. No, it is not awake yet, is it? Come on, come on. Oh, we are drawing in white. That is the problem. Okay, let's get some red. Perfect. So, let's just say that this is the cross-section of the ring station that we have been attacking. So if you look at it from the top, this is where the station would continue, and here is the inside of it. And here on the surface of it, we have our various surface turrets that have been shooting at us. Let's see here. So, using our fighter, which I'm going to do in blue here, what we are essentially doing is we are swinging by with a velocity that we have. So this would be our velocity, while these are stationary relative to our vessel. TK, welcome to the convoy. Good to see you here. We are currently doing Thrust and Shoot, but I am also now doing a little bit of a lecture on as to how we are actually doing our gunfire here. So, wingmates, if you noticed, when we were shooting, our targeting pipper, if for example we were locked onto this gun right here, our targeting pipper would almost always be indicated right here. And essentially that is because when we fire the guns, let's just say we have this burst of munitions at the moment that we are at this particular position relative to the ring. So here is our relative position to the ring. Lecture teach wire. I suppose. This is something I just wish to explain before I go any further. So, as you can see, at this moment in time, which we will call time 1, we have fired our guns, and we are careening relative to the station and along this vector. Now let's actually go forward in time a bit, and we are now here. So this is going to be time 2. Now our velocity vector remains this way, but what has happened in the meantime is our munition has actually traveled this distance right here, since it does have its own velocity. Its velocity is directed this way, and I have done some back of the envelope estimates, and this is approximately 400 meters per second. So if we look here, for example, our velocity might be 150 meters per second relative to this particular targeted gun. So, if for example, our distance here was, so let's make a realistic firing time. So let's just say we're at about 4 kilometers away from the ring. Actually, no. Let's go at 2 kilometers away. So that is a 5-second flight time. That is the maximum range of our guns. So assuming distance pink, or this distance right here, that we can assume, is 2 kilometers, or 2,000 meters, how long would it take for our munitions to reach to cross this distance? That would be 5 seconds. So basically, we need to make sure that we fire our guns at a point where at this distance relative to the station, it would take 5 seconds for our vessel to basically reach this center line right here that we want. Actually, let me undo that and let me use a proper tool for that. This particular center line marked in yellow, where we want the essentially at the moment we cross it for our munitions to impact the turret. So, working backwards, knowing that we are traveling at 150 meters per second, we multiply that by 5, and that means that we get 25 to carry the through 750. So this distance means 750. So, essentially, the graphical system on our ship is projecting all of these factors by using something like radar, for example, to get return waves from the station and the gun, knowing the azimuth and azimuth angle, distance, velocity, etc., and plotting it so that relative to our pilot's view, we see that the pipper says, hey, shoot here, shoot here, shoot here. So essentially, what is happening is the projectiles are actually traveling like this, if you were to imagine the red point as a standstill. So we are traveling along this green vector, whereas our projectiles are traveling essentially diagonally and then impacting at this moment in time. So this moment in time right here is where we have impacts from our projectiles, and we have our vessel actually crisscrossing the ring itself. Now, this does change if you change your firing angle, for example. If you are aiming this way, you will, of course, essentially not ever be able to impact the turret here, because every time you fire. So here's one of the things that happens: if your ship is going this way, and let's just say your munitions are going at 400 meters per second, you must always account for the fact that your vessel's velocity of, let's just say, 150 meters per second is actually going to be tacked onto your munitions. So the blue line here is the true velocity of your munitions, which is more than 400 meters per second, but it's also not in the direction you expect. So in some sense, it's a lot of trigonometry. Eminez, welcome to the convoy. Always a good night when I see you flying. I am very glad to hear that. So yes, this is a bit of the trigonometric madness that comes when you have to target things in space, and when you have flight time for the munitions to reach the target. Now, one thing that I want to also explain is one thing that we've been doing is we have been essentially doing our best to have a circular velocity. So when my ship has a velocity this way, what I'm doing is I am burning backwards, and I am accelerating in this direction. Now, to anyone familiar with some of the basic principles of centripetal acceleration, for example, let's take ourselves a ball spinning on a tether. So if we have a ball spinning around a central pole on a tether, if this isn't moving, but this ball is moving, there is a force, which is force is equal to mass times acceleration, so there is a acceleration yanking this ball in a circle as you swing it around. Now imagine there is no tether. How else would you provide a force in this direction to keep the tether ball going around a pole? That is what we are doing here. We are providing a force this way, which, if we look at the next moment in time, is actually adjusting our velocity this way, and we are continuing our constant acceleration this way by burning like this. So when you add all of that up, here is what you end up doing. You end up constantly adjusting your velocity. As you can see here, we are adding vectors. So if we take this delta v as instantaneous, our new vector would be the yellow one. And same here. We are adjusting it instantaneous, or not instantaneously here, but essentially this is sort of what is happening. We are slowly rotating the way our velocity is aligned. And finally, we end up having what is essentially an orbit around our target here. And that is how we are constantly able to keep in sight of the turrets that we are busting. Now, here is one thing you need to note, wingmates. If you have a turret and it sees you here, remember the Pipper problem I told you here, where you have to aim ahead of the target? The enemy right now sees our velocity green. Now, these turrets are dumb. They are unaware of our constant acceleration and our constantly changing acceleration, aka a circle, because a circle is actually a very simple targeting solution, if you think about it, because it is always going to be the same circular motion. So, what this turret is actually doing is it is understanding that at the current distance and upon our current trajectory, and knowing the velocity of its munitions, if it shoots in this direction, the shells will reach this point right here at a given time, at this point in space at a given time. By the time that it takes for them to fly, let's just say time equals x. In the same time, the distance our vessel having velocity green, the green velocity here, the same time equals x here, the ship itself will arrive time on target with the shells. So, Carbide, welcome to the convoy. So basically, the ship, knowing that we are here, it actually aims ahead of us. So this means that what is happening is we are flying towards munitions that are flying towards, apologies, wrong color, that are flying to meet us on a date here. A date with destiny. And that is how you have to lead a target, especially with such low velocity munitions that are being utilized in this particular game. So, what are we going to do to avoid our fate with destiny here? Do we need to pay for this state? We will pay with our lives and our armor at Carbide, unfortunately. What we need to do to avoid this fate is we need to adjust our velocity to something that is not the predicted impact point for the munitions that have been launched already. So as you can see, we have time equals X seconds, which likely will be around 5 or so seconds to pick a new vector. So that involves slightly adjusting our position and doing a burn, or continuing a circular velocity, because these turrets are dumb and they do not understand that we have a constant velocity. So what you will do is you'll do a burn, and eventually your velocity will adjust to the new yellow velocity. And that means that the turret's munitions will actually... So, you might think, wingmates, but look, Spacer, you're a dummy. Look, the path of the projectiles actually has an intercept point with your velocity. But wingmates, you must understand that there is the fourth dimension, the temporal dimension. So, for example, if the munitions are here, that we are marking in... we're running out of colors here. Let's use dark blue. The munitions are here at the predicted impact point. We are actually much slower than the munitions, and we will be here. So the shells will whiz by harmlessly with this distance between us. It is only if there was the predicted velocity, if this was utterly unchanged, then we would have been impacted. So it is a three-dimensional intercept that must happen here. Slam on the space brakes, easy peasy, yes. Or adjust your vector in any given direction. Now, one of the interesting things I would like to say here is that in World War II, this is something pilots also had to do. So let's just say this is the ground, and here we have a bomber flying above a target zone. Let's just say you have a flak gun here, and it is attempting to shoot down the bomber. Now, a flak gun has a certain flight time for the velocity. And False Jukes, welcome to the convoy. So this is a given time, a time X, that it takes for the flak shell to go all the way up to the current elevation of the bomber. Now, changing altitude for a piston engine bomber craft, such as a B-17, is an incredibly arduous task, especially when it is laden down with bombs. Now, essentially, the moment these flak guns fire, there is going to be a volley of flak that will take time, ranging anywhere from... So if the velocity of a flak gun is 1,000 meters per second, and the Boeing B-17 is at an altitude of perhaps 7 kilometers, we have 7 seconds for the flak to reach the shells. Oh, I'm so sorry, False Jukes. We'll get back to the action shortly. I do apologize. But yes, shot leading and projectile flight time is very important, unless you're using directed energy weapons. So, in essence, what B-17 bombers, if we look at a top view, so let's just say this is the ground, and here we have our flak installation. Here is our bomber, which is flying on this path. What it's going to do is it's going to jink this way. So basically, at the original time, labeled in red, the flak installation saw that the B-17 was headed this way. Then it began firing. And then the B-17 actually changed its vector, its direction this way. And so by the time the shells actually arrive, boom, 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 exploding, the B-17 will have veered off course and been far away from where the flak is. Now, because this time is very important, the higher up you are, the more time you have to do this jink. And also, you doing this jink too quickly will actually mean that you'll basically be doing this. A very squiggly approach with very little standard deviation to the side. Now, wingmates, please keep in mind that every single ballistic piece, due to the inaccuracies of weapons, so for example, here's your gun barrel, will have a circular error probable. And this is essentially an error within which projectiles are likely to land. And this is essentially a cone in space of where the projectiles will probabilistically travel. The B-17 is a fixating aircraft in how it enters U.S. military service. Yes, the historical development of the B-17 is utterly fascinating. So, because there is a circular error probable, there is an error margin in how, yes, Ringo, there is exactly that zigzag tactic. If you remember what video that is, Ringo, feel free to post it, because I think it would be highly educational for wingmates. Flak, yes, feel free to post a YouTube link, because that is an incredibly, it goes over this in a way that an 18-year-old conscript could understand. So in essence, you must understand that because the flat gun has a massive margin of error that only widens the higher up these things go, and because not only that, there's also three-dimensional inaccuracy, because the flat gun's trajectory is not flat. It is not this. It is actually a parabola. So not only are the gunners actually compensating for your forward velocity, in the sense that they have to time with an angle ahead of you, they have to lead you, but they also have to understand that the gunnery calculations have to account for the fact that gravity is pulling down the projectiles, which is not something we have to account for in our situation. Normal human experience sees these projectiles not traveling far enough for this to be experienced. Just that you're close enough and shots are fast enough that it feels like an instant flight time. Yes, if you are perhaps 10 meters away from a target in a very short-range gunfight on the ground, at 300 meters per second for a fairly slow personal weapons projectile, this is covered in a fraction of a second. In fact, it is covered in, let's see, so 10th, in 1/30th of a second. This distance will be covered. Although it is actually less than that because the projectile will slow down, but not significantly. So anyways, as I was saying, you have to jink enough that the circular error probable won't mean that you will actually be potentially hit by random scatter. Random scatter might be your downfall. And this is also what is happening when we fire in this game. We have random scatter in a conical manner that we are also attempting to minimize. And the closer we are to our target, so if this is distance equals 2, we want half the distance, our circular error probable surface area will be reduced by a factor of 4 if we cut the distance in half. So the closer you are, the tighter your passes are, the more likely you are to land a critical kill and use less ammo. So for circling the asteroid base, we want to be as close as possible, while also maintaining enough of a distance that we are able to dodge the incoming projectiles, while we are also able to maintain a vaguely circular path around the system, and while we're close enough, at around maybe 2.5 seconds, to have a relatively minimal scatter that we don't need to fire too many of our shells to get enough impact on one particular position. Because, wingmates, if you look at circular error probable, if we have a firing field like this and a firing field like this, but we have 10 projectiles per each field, the likely density of impacts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, is far less dense than would likely be when you have a smaller circular error probable. Let's see here. So what we want to do is have this, where we have a tighter group. And this means shorter range equals less scatter equals more DPS. And we want DPS because we have a finite amount of munitions. The B-17 lost its bomber design competition because both planes were destroyed during testing, so the contract went to Douglas Aircraft for the DB-2, which was accepted into service as the B-18 Bolo, but the Army Air Corps design was impressed enough by the Boeing design and the destruction of prototypes that the order for a few military service, along with the B-18 Bolo. Yes, TK, if I recall, the original YB-17 actually had a very interesting design. It did not have a tail turret, if I recall. So if anyone's familiar with the B-17 design, it actually has a Stinger in its tail. It has a twin 50 caliber Browning machine gun mount, along with twin not ventral, waist mounts. However, the prototype, if I recall correctly, had a very pointy tail, which was very common with aircraft pre-World War II, and it had these two blister guns right here, which were a substitute for rearward and waist firing guns. However, the B-17 in proper production ended up having the tail gun and the waist guns, which is definitely better coverage than would have been provided by even having a top turret and two waist turrets. You do not prefer this design in general. Although this is what the PBY Catalina flying boat had, if I recall. Unless I'm mistaken, they did not have a tail stinger on the PBY Catalina. I could be wrong. I actually may be wrong. I'll have to check that later. Alright, wingmates. Anyways, back to the simulation. I do apologize. This was a bit of a aside, but I hope that I demonstrated why all of these factors are incredibly important in what you do when you target. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, let's cut there. Alright, let's try this assault one more time. Alright, hopefully this explains some of the method to the madness that I've been doing. So we want a flyby that is as close as possible to the power generator as we can get it. There we go. Most bombers in the interwar period and World War period had a tail, two waist and top turrets, but only Americans used the underside ball turrets. Some bombers did have a ventral gun. If I recall, the Heinkel 111, the Dornier DO-17, and did the Ju-88 have a ventral gun, wingmates? I think that it did. I think that the Ju-88 had a ventral gun, but it didn't have a tail gun. It had two dorsal rear-facing guns. Oh yeah, there's a game indeed. Okay, so we are at 200 meters per second. I don't like this. That is too fast for me to get a proper targeting. So I'm going to actually slow us down to approximately 67 meters per second relative to the turrets. And I'm going to adjust my flyby so that it is more in line. There we go. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. All right, that is much more what I wanted to see. Okay. Here we go, here we go. But yes, if I recall, the ball turret was one of the more technologically advanced solutions. The B-29 skipped it to remote-operated gun stations, which was a massive innovation. So we are now going to have to do a burn. So the fact that we are doing burns, wingmates, means that the targeting solution the turrets previously had is no longer valid. So what I am doing is I'm kind of thrusting forward and back. Ah, that hurt. We didn't burn long enough. All right, there we go. Keep burning. All right. Unfortunately, if you are too in line, it is barely possible. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Oh, too close, too close, too close. Ah, way too close. As you can see, even the fact that their circular error probable was reduced nearly to 0 there. And they were able to simply to hit us even without much of a lead. AIM, welcome to the convoy. All right, we've got ourselves a velocity. Come on, come on. Let's not get an overheat. Come on, come on. There we go. Power generators destroyed. Wait, what are you doing? Give me these turrets. This is a bit of a turkey shoot moment. They need time to turn on their backup generators. Ah, damn. Oh, oh, oh. There are interlocking fields of fire. We've been banged up by the turrets that were allied were helping these ones. All right, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. All right, we need to get closer and we need to dodge this gunfire again. All right, we need more. Ah! Oh, that's not good. That's not good. For all of my talk, I do not know how to do this well either. All right, come on, come on, come on. Perhaps the technique of leading your shots in World War II was something that was taught exclusively to US Marines pilots. Well, considering that pretty much all pilots need to understand that they must lead their shots, it is something I would imagine it was taught to all pilots. Come on, come on, come on! Ah, come on, come on, come on. Ah! Damn it! Ah, damn it! We are likely not going to survive this scenario, wingmates. Alright, come on, come on, come on. Alright, let's get a lock on this turret. What I am doing is, because if you don't see the turret blinking, it is not in your line of sight. Ooh! Too close, too close. We are almost dead, wingmates. We are not going to succeed on this one, I don't think. Zurich, welcome to the convoy. Oh, we've got a lot of gunfire. We've got a lot of gunfire. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. Swinging by, burning, burning, burning. Burning, burning. Okay, there's one more turret left. We may actually be able to actually destroy turret group 2. There's only 2 turrets left. All right, here we go. Come on, come on. Come on. Yes, yes. All right. Locking onto this turret. It's not within our line of fire. Burning, burning. We got it. Let's get out of here, wingmates. Returning to the Challenger. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. There's the Challenger. Ooh. All right. Adjusting our vector to face the Challenger. Our ship is in no condition to engage another set of turrets. There we go. Come on, come on. All right. There we go. And we are low on fuel. And we were almost out of ammo, wingmates. Ooh, I saw the instruction videos for this sort of thing, and pilots were mostly taught to sit on another plane's tail and just unload and load. Yes, it is much easier if you are not trying to do a 3-dimensional calculation, and you are simply faced with a 2-dimensional simulation. The British and Commonwealth crews did not like the ball seen as a coffin for the gunner in any action by them. I would imagine they would, because it was a bit of a coffin situation. Ooh. As you can see, our ship is creaking under the fact that it has been damaged so much. Ooh. So one of the most fascinating things, wingmates, that was introduced by the United States and other allied militaries that had access to it was the calculating leading gun sight. What was it? What was it called? But it was a predictive gun sight, which allowed you to... Oh, we are way too close. We need to dodge, and we need to brake. Brake, 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 brake. And luckily, we overshot the Challenger. So we need to get within 500 meters of the Challenger. And we will have 100... There we go. We've barely made it, wingmates. Oh, we actually got the silver medal. We actually succeeded, wingmates. We got the silver medal. Very nice. I don't know how we did that, but better than bronze. Okay. So, let's do the dogfight, wingmates. Let's do the dogfight. So this will take all of our principles, and it will incorporate the fact that the enemy will be adjusting their trajectory. Alright. There we go, wingmates. We need to make sure that we save our ammo for flight times. Essentially, if our flight time is 2 seconds or less, we should open fire. If it's any greater than that, we are likely going to waste ammo to the point that we cannot get a higher medal on this particular challenge. Alright, launch. Mag rails have launched us. Waypoint is in this position. So once again, wingmates, I am using the Pipper. So let me pause this. Let's see here. So wingmates, let me show you again what I'm doing. So right here, you can't see it, but right where my mouse indicator is where the actual thrust axis of my ship is. So if we know that this one right here that I'm orbiting with my finger, that is actually the tail, and this is the nose of our vector. Apologies, wingmates, a bit of a hiccup there. So that means because our actual thrust line is right here in the middle, it means we are thrusting 90 degrees to our current vector. And what I want to do is I want to chase this Pipper right here, this frontal Pipper, so that it reaches the triangle, which is our waypoint. So let's do this, wingmates. So I have aligned my nose, and I'm burning so that my Pipper is over the waypoint. In fact, we are going to fly by the waypoint a kilometer away from the waypoint. There we go. Perfect. And we have 90 seconds till we reach that trigger distance. Where is the monster storage on this vessel? Dirk, I wish there was some monster storage, but I'm assuming that this pilot is in no condition to drink gamer fuels, such as Monster, Red Bull, or otherwise. Okay. So, we are going to arrive in a minute and 10 seconds. However, the trigger for the enemy fighter should be coming up soon. Within 5 kilometers, if I recall correctly. He needs lasting endurance, not a quick boost. Yes, I suppose the pilot will need that. Although, there are moments where being able to slow down time would be nice. And many would attribute such capabilities to Monster. Not I, but some would. It does have a bit of a mythical reputation amongst pilots and others. And others who need those quick reflexes. Tough times when you can't get a drink fridge on your ship. I know. But unfortunately, having a refrigerator on your ship for drinks is a waste of mass. Okay. There we go. So, we should be reaching the waypoint shortly. We're going to pass by within 93 meters of the waypoint. Within 15 seconds. We should have a trigger for the incoming target. Alright, here we go. Weapons free. Alright, enemy is 10 seconds away. What is their velocity? Relative velocity is now 103 meters. We will be passing by by 94 meters. Enemies should be changing their vectors shortly. Alright, we have a lock. Firing. They will likely maneuver away from that. And they've maneuvered away from it. Alright, they are firing at us. We are dodging the shot. Close pass, close pass. Fire, fire. We got some good hits on them, wingmates. Ah, excellent. That was a very good kill. That is the power of being very close to your enemy. So I'm going to bring my Pipper onto the waypoint once again. There we go. There we go. Whew. I'm just immersed in monster energy. Well, unfortunately, it isn't monster energy, but it is acceleration fluid. Whew. Alright. Here we go. Another contact. Where's his vector? Okay, let's thrust towards the enemy. We want our vector to pass by him. Intercept in 76 meters. We can shoot. Let's get him to dodge. 3 seconds. What are his maneuver capabilities? Burning, burning, burning. Dodging fire. As you can see, we just dodged a whole shotgun load of fire. Come on, come on, come on. Ah! Burning. We got a good strafe on him. Let's scare him a little. Alright, relative velocity is towards enemy fighter. What is fighter's velocity? I really wish I had a Pipper for that. Accelerating. Dodging shots. There we go. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Shoot. Alright, we got a bunch of good hits on him. He is bleeding. Ah, we took a hit. He's on a stable vector. Let's knock him. Ah, come on, you son of a... Come on, come on. Ooh. Come on, come on. This is what happens when both pilots are dealing with essentially ice skating and swinging past each other. There we go. Ah, yeah, we got him. Okay, next nav point. All right, swing around, adjusting our Pipper. There we go. Oh, nope. Should have done this a little differently. Let's see here. Oh, unfortunately, we are quite a bit away from it, so we're going to have to do a full reverse burn. There we go. There we go. Ooh. All right, here we go. And we now have a forward vector towards the target. Relative velocity 75. Ooh. I really wish this game had an online mode carved, but unfortunately it does not, because this would be very fun. As far as I'm aware, Ringo, there is no free look. Free look would have made this a lot easier. However, a lot of this is instrumentation flying. Like turn it on and your target is followed, but your ship is turning away and towards. That would be great. Another thing I would also like is seeing the vector of my enemy. Because while I do have my relative velocity vector, I do not have a good I do not have a good understanding of the velocity vector of my enemy. Where's the space lidar missiles? Also, hey Spacer. Hello Lucianus, welcome to the convoy. Unfortunately, there are no missiles, which would have been very handy to have here. But we're going to do gunfighting without that. All right, let's see if we can get the gold medal, wingmates. Let's see if we can get a gold medal here. We are down to a little over half our munitions and a little over half our Delta V. However, one of the nice things is that while our fuel decreases linearly due to the burn, but the fact that the craft we are flying is losing mass means we accelerate faster and faster. The less mass something has, the faster a constant force will accelerate it. So we essentially we'll have a little more capability to to accelerate. Our acceleration improves the less fuel we have, which is a very tight line to run. Salvatore, I'm glad you got it. Yes, it is only 2.5 credits right now. So for anyone interested in it, feel free to type in !game and you'll be taken to the links. And I will also be playing the second game that I have listed in that. Okay. I have been taking my sweet time and not actually using any more Delta V than I have to, simply because I want to conserve it for the actual dogfight itself. Oh, there we go. Nice. So Capital Command I will be doing after I complete this scenario, to demonstrate what the developer has also done. Alright, let's see here. Alright, we are about 5 kilometers away from waypoint 3. So we should be getting contact with the enemy within under a minute. So let's get our... We are down to 18, which is not bad for structural integrity. We should be okay unless these particular fighters become more challenging. Alright, come on, come on. Let's see here. 2.5 kilometers to the waypoint. I'm surprised that we don't already have a an indicator that we are go for combat. I guess we are on patrol, so we do not know where the enemy will appear. Oh, here we go. Enemy velocity. There we go. We've got our Pipper on the enemy. We are going to fly by within 30 seconds. Alright, we are approaching gunfire range, but we're not going to fire until we have 3 seconds or so. We don't want to make them dodge. Alright. 5 seconds for gunfire. 3 seconds for gunfire. Dodging, dodging, dodging. Alright. 1 second for gunfire. Dodge and fire. Burn, 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 burn. Oh! Oh, damn! That was a bad hit. Come on, come on. 1 second, 2 seconds. Come on, come on. Incoming. We got too close to the enemy and he was able to lock onto us and shoot. Come on. Come on, half-second shot. Ah, dodge sideways, dodge sideways. Ah. Oof, okay. Getting our relative vectors realigned. Instrumentation flight, instrumentation flight. 1 second pass by. Ah, too close. We got him, but our hull is in no condition. All right, wingmates, we got ourselves a gold medal, so let's not get too cocky and go home. All right. Moving our Pipper to the Challenger. And there we go. 800-meter flyby. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's accelerate towards the Challenger since it's quite a distance away. So I'm going to push myself to 350, which will make us arrive very shortly. So at around Around now, I'm going to begin braking. I'm going to drop my velocity. I'm going to drop my velocity to 100 meters per second. And that will only take us 10 seconds to reach. There we go. Alright, here we go. Adjusting our flyby. There we go. Now, 10 seconds... No, 10 seconds per kilometer. So we are much safer now. Alright. Time to slap some duct tape and go home. Indeed, that is exactly what we are doing right now. Alright. I suppose we could accelerate a little bit, but we're not going to push her too much. So by the time our flyby is at around 15 seconds, we want to hit the brakes. Since it will take... We do get around 10 meters per second squared of acceleration at our worst. So this should be okay. Braking burn. Killing our velocity. And we actually are heading away. Where's the Challenger? We actually managed to brake all the way. There we go. I'm a little bit too cautious right now, wingmates. I do apologize. Let's go to 100 meters per second. Okay. And we will make sure we do a reverse burn once we hit around 10 seconds. And here we go. 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Burn. We are still too fast. We need to do another brake burn. There we go. And we should be picked up by the Challenger. Alright, excellent. We earned the gold medal. We need 5 kills for an ace, so we wouldn't have been able to accomplish that anyways. Alright. So that is Thust and Shoot Flight School. I greatly enjoy this game. For all of its limitations and for how simple it is, I think it is an excellent game, especially when you are trying to master the 3-dimensional flight. So, I did say I was going to do another one, and that is going to be another demo by the same publisher. So, wingmates, allow me to adjust the category, and we can continue onwards. So let's see here. Capital Command. And here we go. Capital Command. Category adjusted. There we go. So let's fire up the next simulation, wingmates. Okay, here we go. Alright. Capital Command. And let's see here. And let's play that. So, one of the things is that this particular game is in such a beta state that it does not actually have sound. So I will be playing some background music for this. Here you go, wingmates. Alright, let's capture Capital Command. And this should be it. There we go. There we are. Excellent. Alright, wingmates. So, this is... damn, imagine being so beta you don't make sound. Well, the focus is much more important things for this game, is I suppose what I would say, such as actual gameplay. So, I'm not too hurt by the fact that this particular game does not have any sound. So, wingmates, so this game is very similar in some sense to Thust and Shoot, because it incorporates much the same sort of flight mechanic, but it does so also utilizing capital vessels. So let's take a look. Let's start a new game. Alright, name your ship, Battlecruiser 42. I'm fine with that. Battlecruiser 42 arriving on deployment. Assignment, mobile complement for Deep Space Outpost. Welcome to Farpoint. If any of you have watched Star Trek The Next Generation, you will be familiar with the name Farpoint. Gameplay, who needs that? Alright, welcome to Capital Command, wingmates. So this is BC-42, our battlecruiser. As you can see, it is not the typical sci-fi design in some sense, but it does have a very Battlestar Galactica feel to it. So, welcome, Battlecruiser 42. Your timing is excellent. We could really use a hand right now. New fleet regulation requires interface check. Post jump perform. Interface check now. Sorry about this. So basically, we are being haggled with bureaucracy and being forced to do an interface check. So I'm holding the Alt button to be able to move my mouse freely across the screen. Let's see here. Confirmed, Battlecruiser 42. Check the screen. Verification signed. Logged and sent to Fleet HQ. Sitrep follows. Recent drone collision produced multiple wreckage. Your proximity. Select one wreckage for vector check. So we need to click on a contact in order to lock it. So here are our contacts ahead of us. We're going to click at the closest contact, which is this particular wreckage right here. Copy, Battlecruiser 42. Sorry to rush your time-critical situation. Approach and salvage one piece of wreckage. New regs require automated navigation near station. Manual flight disabled. Sorry again. So we need to get within 8 kilometers to begin salvaging. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a very simple rendezvous trajectory. So as you can see, our ship is aligning its nose towards that piece of wreckage right here. And it's using its RCS thrusters and now activating its primary engine here. There we go. And it's basically attempting to rendezvous with it. Now, because we have gained a forward velocity, as you can see in the lower... Oh, unfortunately my particular avatar is blocking the radar icon, but it is very similar to Thust and Shoot. So right now we are salvaging the wreckage, and we are very close to it. I'm going to say, come match velocity. So right now what our ship is doing, it is attempting to match velocity with the wreckage. So it is rotating into position. There we go. Well done, Battlecruiser 42. Investigation greatly assisted. Wrecks constitute navigation hazard. Destroy all wrecks ASAP. Recommend salvage before demolition. Weapons use authorized. Free maneuver authorization. Enjoy. Very interesting that they would say enjoy. Right, so I'm going to disable auto nav, and I'm going to utilize manual controls, which are WASD keys, Q and E for so WASD allows us to... Oh, let's see, I need to burn here. Main booster is spacebar. So our relative velocity to that garbage right now is 67, 62. Okay, we are actually approaching it fairly closely. So I'm going to rotate close to it and engage retro thrusters, which is the C key. There we go. All right, burning retro thrusters, as you can see right here, that are being fired off in the nose of the craft. And I'm attempting to slow down relative to this wreckage. Okay, so let's use our mouse free look and select our ship's main gun battery to shoot at this particular piece of wreckage. All right, come on. Ah, I see. So the main battery is attempting to get a good angle. There we go. Here comes the main battery. And bam! That wreckage has been destroyed. Okay, so we need to salvage the remainder of the wreckage and destroy it. So let's find the nearest piece, which is that, but it's not along our vector, because our vector is actually... Which way is our vector currently facing? Our vector is about that way, so what we're going to do... see, there, that line right there, that green line, is the relative vector of the wreckage. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to use the auto nav to rendezvous with that wreckage. So there we go, rendezvous. So now our ship will execute maneuvers in order to adjust the velocity so that we have a speed towards it, which is now 276 relative meters per second to the wreckage. But we are also going to have to slow down at some point. So as you can see, the relative vector line is facing towards us, which is correct. Now let's see. We are still quite a ways away from that particular wreckage, so it will take a bit of time. We need to get within 8 kilometers in order to salvage it. And that should be... So every 4 seconds we travel 1 kilometer, because we are traveling at around 276 meters per second. We actually travel more than a kilometer in 4 seconds, but that is a rough approximation. That will do for us. In the vector count command. That would definitely be helpful. I do enjoy the word vector. Okay, so hopefully, now that we are an 8, we're going to do a match velocity. So that means that our ship will slow itself down. Let's see here. So speed is currently still relative to the target. So we are currently swinging around. And our vessel is going to attempt to use its primary drive to brake, because the retro thruster is rather silly. Yes, that would be a good command to have. I think I will institute it at some point. So as you can see, here's the green line. That is our relative vector to the target. Although we do not have a positional vector. There we go. Because our engines are so powerful, we have managed to brake very quickly. Okay, so why don't we actually try out some of these other weapons? Let's utilize our secondary guns, which are primarily meant to be anti-missile and anti-ballistic weapon guns. As you can see, here's our secondary battery firing. Let's see if we can get another lock by another one of these secondary batteries. And we will have our stern battery also open fire. Let's try out our missile silos here. So we're going to fire off 2 missiles from our primary missile silo. As you can see, we have a dorsal and a ventral silo. And there we go. That should have done some serious damage to the wreckage. Looks like we're having some issues, so we're going to have to use the main battery to truly devastate the wreckage. So these green markers here are our guns aligning into position, the way they would on the Battlestar Galactica. And now they're about to open fire. And I do love the trails oh so very much. While it is a little bit strange to assume that gases in a vacuum will stay coherent the way a smoke trail would in atmosphere, and even smoke trails in atmosphere begin to dissipate, it is even more presumptuous to assume that would happen in vacuum, but it is a good visual effect to let you know where the shells are. Okay, so let's find our nearest wreckage and salvage it. Let's see here. Where is this particular wreckage? There we go. Let's auto nav to... Let's turn to direction first. And we're going to do a bit of manual flight. Okay. So. One of the things about the radar in this game is that you actually have a slightly different pipper layout. So, let's see. I'm going to do a vertical burn to adjust my velocity. I'm going to align this vessel in line with my bearing here for the wreckage. And I'm doing this using my radar, which is unfortunately off screen at the current moment. And now we'll engage the primary drive. Now I've given myself a velocity of 50 meters per second. And let's see. So, my closest flyby will actually be pretty far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my translational drives, my Z and X keys, to adjust it so that I am as close as possible on approach to this. Now, as you can see, the red and green line here is actually indicative of where I am on the vector line to the target. So I'm actually going to also do a little bit of vertical burn here using my RCS thrusters. And I am essentially perfectly in line. And I will begin braking burn using my C key in order to slow us down. Because this takes so long for us to slow down, I'm going to have to initiate the burn way ahead of time. Let's see here. Okay. We are slowing down steadily but surely. There we go, utilizing our retro thruster. Now, one thing I would say to the developer is to provide both forward thrusters and perhaps an ability to at least gimbal or flip your engine. It does give it an impression of incredible bulk, but it is also somewhat frustrating to have such limited capabilities. Alright, let's lock on our primary anti-ship battery and rotate our guns into position. There we go. Main battery firing. Let's destroy that wreckage. There we go. Wreckage down. Let's see, where is the closest wreckage? So that is Farpoint Station. We definitely don't want to damage it. So that is going to be our next target. We're going to match velocity with it. We're going to actually... Oh, no, we didn't want to fire those guns. There we go. Let's cancel that shot. Unfortunately, we'll probably destroy that wreckage before we can salvage it, but that's okay. Actually, it doesn't matter, because this isn't a campaign, we can go ahead and destroy all of the wreckage. So I'm going to select gun turret 1. Let's see, so right-click will unselect the main battery. Hold fire, salvo fire, and you can also manually target the guns. Okay, there we go. Shells en route. We got that down. Let's see here. Let's select that again with our primary battery. Let's see if we can use our kinetics here. While the distance is great and the flight time is 10 seconds, even for our secondary kinetics, I'm simply showing you how absurd it is when it comes to these flight times. There we go. Let's see. Let's devastate this particular... No, that was Farpoint Station. Let's use our dorsal missile silo to launch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 missiles at the target. So again, the trails would probably, in a harder sci-fi game, not actually be linear, but here they show you a very good path. So we can actually zoom in onto the target here. There we go. Target devastated. Perfect. And there is one more piece of salvage that we haven't destroyed. So let's get a lock onto that. Let's see here. Okay, that is within 16 kilometers, so our primary guns should have no issue with that. Let's give them a lock. There we go. So main battery is tracking and reloading. So if we look aboard the top of this ship... Oh dear. We can see the main guns are starting to track. And they should have a clear line of fire. Let's watch them fire. 12 guns will be fired shortly. Alright, come on. They're still tracking. I'm not quite sure if they'll actually be able to track that vertically, but it's a good test of their capabilities. There we go. It's a very vertical shot. That should destroy the wreckage. So there is the wreckage's speed relative to us. Confirmed wreckage eliminated. Unscheduled jump detected. Standing by for traffic update. Okay, it appears that there is something coming in. So, let's see. Farpoint Station, our vector. We are heading away from Farpoint Station, which is why the vector mark is red. So I really wish that the original game actually had these vector marks, or that Thust and Shoot have these little dotted lines, because they give a very good visual three-dimensional representation. New contact exited jump. ID, unmanned scout corvette assigned to system defense fleet. Not responding queries. Not broadcasting IFF. Rendezvous within 10 kilometers of KS 523. Verify condition. Render assistance. Tactical jump authorized. Right, so let's come to a local stop so that we can actually engage in a tactical jump. Let's see here. And there unfortunately is no effect yet for the tactical jumps. Let's see here. Okay, so there is KS 523, the Corvette. It is at a range of 300 kilometers. If we use our standard burn for this, it will be very difficult. So we need a local stop. I do not know why. Let's see. I'm going to do a local stop. And it simply won't. Let's see here. Well, let's turn to direction either way, using our auto nav. It appears that we are going to have to do... Let's see, what is our current speed? We're going to match our velocity with KS. So hopefully that will... Oh, no, we don't want to do that. We want a local stop. A local stop relative to KS 523. Okay, so... hopefully our capital ship will stop doing this. Okay. What is going on? Our speed is 30, and... which vector is it? I see, okay. So the ship is heading away from us, so we actually need to thrust towards it. Okay, so what we're going to do is slightly activate our primary drive. Nope. Come on. There we go. Oh, no, we need to decelerate. Okay. So I'm aligning, utilizing my radar, and I'm going to begin braking burn. Alright, that appears to be working just fine. But our velocity is still too high. So I'm going to do a total flip here. I'm going to align the ship to essentially break its current vector. We're going to have to use the main drive for this. Pig! Welcome to the convoy! Good to see you. Yes, Capital Command this is the first time I have played it. And I am, of course, trying to demo it. Because the game has a lot of potential. But it is unfortunately unfinished, so I am actually playing background music right now as there is no sound. Right, so let's see, our vector is almost reversed. There we go. Okay. Let's adjust our heading the proper direction. Okay, and let's do a slight burn with the main drive. There we go. Now we can do tactical jump. Okay, so we are doing a tactical jump, which involves essentially aiming with the mouse, and we need to actually scroll out. So I'm going to scroll out to 286 or so, and I'm going to do my best to align with the Corvette over there. All right, there we go. And now our jump is locked. There we go. So I really like this change of the... Oh, the jump has no effect. It's simply a fade to black. But we should be very close to the Corvette when we exit. All right, let's get a lock on KS here. There it is. So this is the part where you definitely want to simply utilize your ship's auto nav systems to match velocities with in order to make this game a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to match velocity with the Corvette, which currently has a speed of 252. So we need to accelerate lest we lose contact. We need to be within 10 kilometers to maintain adequate uplink in order to complete our capture operation. So right now we have reached a relative null velocity. So what I'm going to do is actually take manual control and give us a little bit of forward boost so that we actually begin approaching. Okay, so we need to maintain the data link because our armament has taken a significant beating because a Trojan virus from KS 523 has been transmitted to our capital ship. So right now what we are doing is we are attempting to stay within 10 kilometers so that we can regain control of the Corvette. So there is the Corvette. It's boosting its way over. So one of the lore pieces about this particular universe is that the primary drives on most of these ships can only burn for a limited time. While they do have excellent capabilities, they are not able to burn for long. Which is why we have in our left corner here the boost gauge, which it only has around 520 delta V. Okay, we've disabled the rogue AI, and we need to move closer in order to capture it. So what we will do is... Oh, we're actually well within range. We are within 1.6 kilometers. So we are capturing it right now. We need 43 more seconds. So we will have to repair our battlecruiser in order to get all of these weapons online. Let's see here. Perfect, okay. So as you can see, our ship is pretty much worse for wear. Our guns are disabled, our missiles are disabled, we are not doing well. Alright, so, let's see here. 1 second please, wingmates. So Farpoint Station is quite a ways away from this Corvette. So we will have to do another tactical jump if we are to help it out if anything goes wrong. Well done, Battlecruiser 42. Confirmed rogue ship AI malfunction. Cause unknown. This could be bad. Rogue transmission decodes as AI fleet attack coordinates and info. Your damage control functions restored. Stand by for instructions. Right, so we are currently repairing all of our damaged weapons, as you can see in the left-hand bar here. We have our damage control parties that are attempting to repair all of our turrets. Turrets A, B, X, Y, our dorsal silo, our ventral silo, and our point defense systems. They all require serious repair. Alright, we have a number of corvettes inbound on us. 5 corvettes. Alert, emergency alert. Multiple contacts detected. ID positive as AI fleet. No IFF broadcast. Combat formation vectoring on Farpoint Station. Rogue ships designated hostile. Battlecruiser 42. Urgent, intercept, and engage at will. Repeat. Engage at will. So, wingmates, what we're going to do is we're going to jump to Farpoint Station once our jump drive is back online. So, relative to Farpoint Station, we have almost 0 velocity, so we should be able to do our jump correctly. The enemy corvettes are passing us by, and they are passing by within a range of 5 or so. This is a bit of a... It's strange that they're not shooting at us, but it appears that their target is Farpoint Station indeed. So, what we will have to do is wait till our jump drive is recharged, and currently none of our weapon systems are functioning. The fastest weapons we will be able to get going are our bow defensive secondaries and turrets A and B. Turrets X and Y will take twice as long. So we are very poorly armed right now. Okay, so, let's get this jump going. Quick jump, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, 1 second. Alright. Jumping sequence to Farpoint Station. Oh boy. I think we did something wrong here. I certainly hope we're going to jump to the correct position. Alright, let's find where Farpoint Station is. Alright, Farpoint Station is above us. We have jumped into a defensive position. So here are the vectors of the corvettes that are inbound. We are going to position ourselves in front of Farpoint Station. There we go. Alright. Giving it a little bit of forward thrust so that we can get ahead of Farpoint Station. Alright, come on, come on. So, we need to make sure we intercept these ships. They're at a range of around 200 kilometers. And we have one of our primary guns online. What we're going to do first is we're going to match velocity with Farpoint Station. Let's see here. We need to defend the station, not go on the offensive. Because we also need time to get all the remainder of our guns in action. Come on, come on, come on. Give me a slowdown here. Come on, Battlecruiser 42, stop being... Alright, that is close enough to 0. And apparently won't use translational drives. So turn to direction of the enemy here. Oh, come on. Let's find the closest corvette. There we go. There's the closest corvette. We need to turn to direction. Our guns are tracking, and they are ready. So we will begin firing on KS-142 the moment it gets within range. Excellent. We are still out of range, unfortunately. Come on, come on. There we go. So we are approximately halfway out of range. And that means at around 90 kilometers or so, or 80 kilometers, we will be able to begin opening fire with our main battery. Now hopefully our strike silos will actually go into commission soon. In 1 minute, our ventral silo should be operational again. Once our ventral silo is operational, we will be able to utilize significantly heavy missiles. Our dorsal silo is ready, so what we will do, wingmates, is we will utilize our dorsal silo to attack some of these corvettes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to fire everything we have at these corvettes in an attempt to disable them. Oh yes, yes, AIM. We are counting down till our ventral silo is in action, because that one is significantly more powerful. So our dorsal silos are not currently in range yet. Our ventral silo has the longest range, even though I would argue that range is irrelevant in space. Range only matters if your circular error probable is too big for it to be effective to shoot. On the other hand, with missiles, there is no circular error probable unless you have some kind of odd issue with your targeting system on the missile itself. Okay. Come on, come on. Give me a launch here. Okay, Farpoint Station is doing just fine for now. Oh, come on, come on. Flight time. Okay, so the maximum flight time of a standard missile is 32 seconds. We are 8 seconds from launch. Let's take a look at our primary gun battery. Range. Not 135 is not enough. What is the range? Come on, come on. We're going to actually adjust our position here so that our dorsal guns have the full capability to attack this particular corvette. There we go. So our dorsal AB XY turrets are currently aligned. And so AB convention is, wingmates, front turrets are usually A, B, and then the turrets from the back on a battleship go X, Y. So it's for whatever reason, there is an assumption that the rear turrets have to come from a different pattern, although that is entirely arbitrary. Oh, it appears that we still do not have enough range for flight time. It appears that the enemy corvettes have done something. They have adjusted their velocities, although we are right in front of Farpoint, so their velocities are a little bit strange. Very strange. We are slowly drifting that way. Come on, come on, get in range, get in range. You are almost in range, buddy. I am asking specifically that you get within range of my guns and my missiles. However, our ventral silos are currently ready. So, why don't we actually activate our ventral silos and launch a strike. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, full launch. Here we go. Dorsal silo is firing. So those dorsal missiles are much longer range. Let's see what happens to these corvettes. Let's see. Our primary guns will now target this vessel. Still out of range for primary guns. Let's see if we can do a long-range shot. Okay, so now, as you can see, the corvettes are firing their defensive guns in an attempt to take down the heavy missiles. But that corvette took down one, but it won't be able to take down the rest. That corvette is a wreck. And the other corvette has just been struck. And we have currently fired one battery of our dorsal missiles. And we should be in range for the second volley. Yes, there we go. Dorsal battery firing. All worth it for that sweet, sweet vengeance. Yes. Although currently we are simply massacring them because they have no long-range fire. So forward battery out of action, bow thrusters disabled, fire and bow section. So our guns should be able to finish that Corvette off very readily. That is a very crippled Corvette. Hopefully our missiles will be reloaded soon. Let's see, we are still out of range with our primary kinetic gun. That Corvette managed to intercept 2 missiles. Actually, that one managed to intercept quite a number of missiles, and it took almost no damage. So that is a bit of a bummer. I guess it had a better attack angle on those particular missiles. Alright, let's see here. To cancel all of our missiles. Go. What is the cancel button here? Right click, unselect. And there we go. Okay, so there's just wrecks hauling at us. And I believe our dorsal batteries are almost within range. Let's watch them fire off, wingmates. Here they come. Come on, come on, come on. Just a little bit closer. That's what you get when you come to Farpoint Station. Oh yeah, look at that. So now this Corvette should begin opening fire with its dorsal guns. What's the flight time on this gun? Flight time is 30 seconds. And that is our circular error probable, I believe. So as you can see, all the Corvettes are attempting to knock out the gun battery fire. Come on, come on, come on. We're waiting for our dorsal silo to reload. So as you can see, the error alone is a serious issue with this main battery. Come on, come on. Let's see. There's a fire in the bow section of this Corvette, so we are definitely doing damage, and it is out of commission. We got a really good hit on its belly. And the belly is very vulnerable. There we go. That should do it. Let's switch targets. We're going to switch targets to this next Corvette, the one that's already damaged. So that previous target is now a wreck. Right, it's attempting point defense. More shells inbound. Here they come. And impact. They have fires on board. And flight time is now getting to be in our favor. 12 seconds is not a long flight time, but it also would mean that they would probably begin firing against Farpoint Station shortly. Our ventral silo is now reloading. There we go. Let's target the next Corvette. That Corvette is out of action. Training guns and reloading. Firing volley. There we go. Excellent. Oh, look at those maneuvers. Desperately trying to defend. You'd be better off maneuvering. You'd be better off. No! So, in essence, because the flight time of our shells is only 10 seconds, it is very unlikely that these ponderous ships would be able to maneuver out of the way. So only at the maximum range of our guns would these Corvettes be able to dodge. Stand by, BC-42. Evacuation postponed. Incoming jump signatures on long-range sensors. Stand by for tactical update. I do not like the sound of that, wingmates. I do not like the sound of that. Not at all. So the wreckages are being salvaged right now because, as you can see, the wreckages have actually kept their previous velocity. They were on target to intercept Farpoint Station. And because they were destroyed, they still maintain that velocity. Oh boy, what is happening here? Oh, that is a lot of enemy contacts, wingmates. What is our ventral silo or dorsal silo doing? Oh, it's on point defense. It is attacking missiles. So there's a battle cruiser that we are going to target. So we're going to attack trajectory this battle cruiser. So guns need to target it. And I think once our heavy ventral silo is fully reloaded, we will begin attacking it. I do not think Farpoint Station can survive this. So what we want, so as you can see, our missiles are intercepting the enemy's missiles. The enemy has more salvos that they are firing at Farpoint Station. Enemy battlecruiser inbound. Range 99. As you can see, we are already opening fire with our defensive guns here in order to attempt to intercept the missiles that are barraging into Farpoint Station. Farpoint Station is not doing well. Alright, come on, reload the heavy silos. I want a full volley so that we can actually get a proper heavy hit on this. Alright, we're going to cruise in the direction of that particular ship. Because we want to actually be able to get an attack on it. Right now we are basically doing an intercept trajectory. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. No, rendezvous. Rendezvous is what we wanted. Alright, let's hope those... Oh, ventral battery is firing point defense. Heavy strike silo is almost ready. Alright, let's select our heavy strike silo. Why is that last missile not loaded? Oh boy, this is not good. Okay, battlecruiser 9. Firing every single heavy missile we have. Let's hope something hits. Oh boy. Come on, come on, come on. Oh no, did we target the missiles? Oh no, that is a huge waste of heavy attack missiles. That is not good. That is not good at all. Oh, this is not good. Come on, come on. Shoot BC-9. That's it, we're going in. We're going in close. Come on, come on. Give me a lock. Open fire on the battlecruiser. Farpoint Station is not going to last long like this. Alright, turning off boost. We are closing in fast with the battlecruiser. We should be able to get better accuracy. Damn. Come on, come on. Are we getting impacts? Yes, we are getting impacts on BC-9. We might be able to do something if we can knock out BC-9. Our heavy missile batteries are loading still. Alright, come on, come on. Flight time is only 8 seconds now. Alright. Let's see, attack trajectory. There we go. Opening fire. Come on, heavy guns. And Farpoint is going down. Alright, looks like we're gonna have to do some wild maneuvers, wingmates. We are now in a combat situation. Come on, come on, come on. Need to keep our ventral side aligned. And there we go. Come on, come on, come on. Attack trajectory. Give me an attack trajectory. Ooh, here we go, here we go. Give me those gun batteries. Come on, come on, come on. This is not good. Oh, they are orienting their gun batteries towards us, wingmates. Dorsal batteries firing for point defense. Come on. Alright. Let's see, do we have any ventral strike silos? No, we don't. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Give me bow guns. Give me bow guns. Out of range. No, no, no. You get in range. I tell you that much. Get in range already. Here we go. Getting into attack position. Ooh. Enemy is firing a lot of different shells at us. We are completely surrounded. This is not good, wingmates. This is not good. Oh! Here go the main guns. Ventral battery is firing. Damn, we need to cancel all of those ventral missiles. Because they're going to be wasted if they're not in a salvo. Let's see. F1, cancel orders. There we go. We need to reload our main battery. Oh, here come missiles. We are intercepting them with our defensive guns. We are in a slugfest with BC-9 here. BC-9 has not taken that much damage, to be honest. That is not good. Our shots are being intercepted. We are in proper combat alignment. This is not good. We are surrounded. We have an incoming flight. That we will not be able to enter. Nope. We have evaded it at least. We took heavy damage to the bow. We need to burn, burn, burn. We lost our main booster. We only have secondary booster. And we are continuing to take fire. Ship structure is taking damage. We have managed to dodge that shot. But we are not going to be able to dodge a lot of these. Ventral silo is out of commission. Dorsal silo has failed. This should have been a fleet action, but we are currently alone. We do not have much in terms of our boosters. Damn. Come on, come on. Main guns are... There's a fire in our dorsal section, and we have no thrust whatsoever. And I doubt that... Oh. Come on, come on. Come on. At this point, I'm using RCS thrusters. Oh, this is too much gunfire. Way too much gunfire. Come on. This is not good. This is not good. We are getting hammered. Ship structure is down to a third. We have no primary boosters. We are down, wingmates. We are down. We are down. Battlecruiser 42 is a total loss. The enemy has hammered us to smithereens. Ah! It appears that we now gain control of this corvette right here. Wow, they were still hammering away. They were still hammering away at our vessel. And there's BC-9 that managed to take us down. And we only disabled one of its dorsal silos. Farpoint station destroyed. Tactical situation critical. Force preservation imperative. Escape is your best option at this point. Exit jump authorized. Let's do an exit jump, wingmates. Here we go. Exit jump in 10 seconds. Here's the corvette that we captured earlier. And now this is going to be our only chance for survival. And we have jumped out of the situation. Tactical victory. You have escaped. Farpoint is a heavy loss, but this fight is not over. You will retain command of the KS-523. You are ordered to prosecute guerrilla campaign against the rogue AI fleet. Your primary objective, terminate rogue AI Central Command Corps with extreme prejudice. Logistics support unavailable. Resource salvage from wreckage is advised. Shipyard support unavailable. Independent field repair and upgrade is advised. Reinforcements unavailable. Hostile ship capture and commission advised. Last known AI fleet units 2E and positions uploaded. Oh, this is, was it something and... Tactical orientation and... The prologue is over. The fight has just begun. Play the full campaign and take down the rogue AI. Estimated launch date, September 2021. So that is the demo for Capital Command. As you can see, it needs a bit more polish to say that. But it already does have a very Battlestar Galactica feel, especially that last part where shells were slamming in from all directions. It was quite something, I would say. Alright, so... I think... Let's see here. Now that I've done the demos, allow me to link the developer's page once again, wingmates. Go. So if anyone is interested, the earlier game tonight was Thust and Shoot, the flight school simulator, and what we just played now was Capital Command, the demo. The full game is not yet out and not even in early access, but so far the demo is being updated regularly, which is rather nice. So I do hope that at least somebody found that intriguing. It is very unusual to see these Newtonian simulators. Let's see here. Okay, I think that... One second, wingmates. I think that I would maybe like to pull up Krita once again. 1 second, please. Here we go. Let's see if it engages correctly. Come on, come on. Go. That should operate. No, he won't operate. Come on. There we go. Okay, wingmates. I apologize. So, I think I will be, I'll probably be wrapping up soon enough, but I suppose I wanted to make some concluding remarks on what I think could be improved with this particular game, or what could be done to make the flight school game a little bit different. So, allow me to grab a canvas very quickly here. Let's see. And perhaps I would actually do a bonus criticism of the Battlestar Galactica Viper. Let's see here. Or just fighters as a whole, because we have learned more than a little bit about fighters right now, in terms of how they would operate, at least if they were using Newtonian physics. So let me do a little bit of a spiel about that, because I have some things to say. Let's see here, wingmates. 1 second, please. Okay, so let me get a new canvas here. There we go. And I'm going to paint the original canvas a gray, so that it does not hurt eyes or optical sensors nearly as much. Let's unlock that layer. Come on. There we go. Alright, so let's take a look at the Battlestar Galactica Viper. Let me pull up an image here, wingmates. Let me pull up one right here. Let's see, BSG Viper. Okay, so, and let me change the category here. This will be just chatting. 1 second, please, wingmates. There it is. Okay. So, let's get the Viper here. There is... Where's a good schematic picture? Perfect. Okay, so, this is the Battlestar Galactica Viper. This craft has a host of issues that I would like to address, that are also related to, I suppose, what was happening with our game earlier. Let's see here. So this is one of the Mark IIIs, if I recall correctly. So it only has 2 guns here. One and one on the other side. The, what is it, the Mark 7? Mark 8? I forget the newer Vipers. They have 3 guns. So, what is the Viper? The Viper is supposed to be a space fighter. Now, the very concept of space fighters I find to be a little bit strange, which I will explain just shortly. So, what do I not like about the Viper? 1, this, the cockpit. Cockpits as a whole, and any sort of porthole or glass in the frame of a craft meant to be in a place. Oh, did I put that on the background layer? I did. I'll just simply delete the. Oh no, it's right here. That's fine. So any sort of craft that travels in the void of space is going to be exposed to incredible amounts of radiation. Not only that, not only radiation in the form of gamma, and beta to a lesser extent, although beta particles are electrons, and electrons would penetrate depending on the kind of glass you have, but they would of course much more likely scatter. It takes far less to shield against a highly charged electron or a highly charged helium nucleus as with alpha radiation. So we have beta. I can't remember how to draw the beta symbol. We have beta radiation, we have alpha radiation, but then we have gamma radiation, which is simply gamma rays, which will punch into the glass or punch through it and irradiate the pilot. This is a health and occupational safety hazard. Now, another thing about the cockpit in particular is that the seat is like this. Now, I described this in my previous Starship critique, but if your seat is like this, your pilot will be oriented like this. Their feet will be on the quote-unquote floor, their arms will be oriented like this, And the big issue is that when the pilot experiences acceleration forward, their blood, as this magenta stuff here, will tend to want to travel back into their legs. Now, aircraft pilots in the 20th and 21st centuries actually had specialized cuffs that would inflate during high G maneuvers at key points, which would prevent blood from traveling from the extremities of a pilot on into their chest cavity, leaving them without sensation or causing a red out, or if the maneuver is done a different way, from allowing blood to travel the other way. So for example, if you were boosting upwards like this for whatever reason, or if there was centripetal acceleration in a plane doing a pull-up maneuver. So if we have the plane and it's doing this maneuver, the acceleration is downward on the pilot. There is the force compressing him in a turn inboard or a pull-up. And what will happen is, since there is a force going downwards, all of the blood will want to migrate out of the head and into the body, leaving them with a blackout. This is already not very good, but one of the reasons why combat craft meant to be used in gravity, or at least in non-freefall situations, aka non-zero G, is that you need to be able to sit comfortably while the pilot is in flight. So because you're constantly getting 9.8 meters per second of acceleration downwards when you're not doing any combat maneuvers in an aircraft like this, you actually will not have any issues. It's very comfortable like this. This is the natural human position. However, for a spacecraft, why do you need any of that? You are always in free fall. And because you have done this, instead of having your pilot lie prone against the surface, like this, for example, with the controls right here by their hands. Oh, that looks a little bit crass. But if you instead have an acceleration couch or something like that for your pilot, you will have far fewer issues of blood traveling down from elevated extremities. And in general, this is probably the orientation you want when you have high accelerations this direction. So it's essentially an acceleration couch. So the Star Fury from Babylon 5 actually does this. Their pilots stand, quote unquote, but when you're actually accelerating forward, it's the same thing as lying down. So in this sense, the Viper has a serious issue with that. Not only does it have this very vulnerable cockpit housing bubble, which allows in radiation, gunfire, and etc., but it also has a very poor seating arrangement. Now, let's see here. What else is wrong with the not Star Fury, the Viper? Landing gear. I don't know about it. This is entirely related to the way Battlestar Galactica operates. How would the motorcycle seating orientation compare to these? So if you have a motorcycle seat, which is essentially lying down with some pegs, let's see here. So this would be motorcycle, but dual sport, because dual sports are basically an upright seating position. But a lying down position with your legs on a peg here and handlebars like this. This is lying down is preferable from a gravity acceleration position when compared to lying down, especially with your extremities still being lower when you are trying to accelerate. So if your acceleration is this way, and also, while it doesn't matter, so honestly, here's the thing. If we blot out this, and we assume that all feeds coming into the pilot are from cameras, neither position would matter, because the screen would be here for this pilot, and the screen would be here for this pilot. But at the same time, this does not confer nearly as much of a benefit when it comes to high accelerations as does a prone position. Also, you could liquid immerse the pilot for even greater help. So you could do exactly what I do, which is have liquid immersion. And I can't do that opaque. Let me drop down that to 50% opacity. There we go. So yeah, you could also do liquid immersion if you wanted to. And that would be essentially the optimal thing. And it would, in essence, protect the pilot from being thrown around when you do hard maneuvers. So, let's see here. What are some of the other issues with the Viper? Well, one is, so here are the engines. Oops. Let's see. So let's go back to a brush. So here are the engines. But where is the propellant? Where are the propellant tanks? And don't tell me that the nose here is entirely chock full of propellant, and there's a little bit more in the belly here. Especially because you have to accommodate the munitions for the primary autocannons that the Viper has. So are you telling me that the entire fuel capacity of this craft is this piddly amount of what is potentially some kind of dense fluid fuel, like maybe hydrogen or some sort of methane? But not only are you powering whatever reaction there is to actually give you high delta V, but to give you a high exhaust velocity out of these nozzles, but you also need reaction mass to have a high delta V. Maybe in Battlestar Galactica, the sheer thrust or the sheer exhaust velocity of these engines is so great that you do not necessarily require a high mass fraction, where the total quantity of your mass fuel relative to your mass dry, or that is your mass empty. No. Essentially, you want a bigger proportion of your craft to be propellant. So when it is empty, it is much heavier than it is dry. And that ratio, such as perhaps, so mass dry would be, the mass empty would be 1. No, what am I doing? Mass dry, mass empty. I am insane. Mass wet. You want your wet mass. You want your wet mass wet, to be far greater than your mass dry. And if you have, for example, a mass dry of 1, you probably want your mass wet to be 3 or greater, just so you have plenty of propellant. So if the Viper's fuel is in the wings, that is not a lot of volume. That is not a lot of volume at all. So, practically speaking, most craft tend to have a very significant 1-to-3 or greater mass ratio for fuel. This does not look it to me. However, I would assume that the nose has it, because I see no other place to put this. Okay. In general, the issues are, where is the propellant? Why do you even have a visible cockpit? And the armament is piddling. And I would also say that the way, because this has no gimbal or no thrust vectoring that I can see of, and maybe these can vector a little, but I would definitely want bigger RCS lever arms. And another criticism that I would have is, let's use a different color here. Where are the radiators? Where are they, wingmates? I need radiators. These engines generate heat, and I somehow doubt that all of the exhaust heat is being dumped with the propellant leaving. So you'd probably want these wings to actually serve as radiator surfaces to allow infrared and visible spectra of light to lower the energy. It is true that the Viper's cannons are generally equivalent to the old. Is it true that the Viper's cannons are generally equivalent to the old-style Earth 20mm cannons? Let me take a look here. 1 second. Let's see. So, Viper ammo BSG. There's actually an image of it. Let's see here. Viper cannon ammo Battlestar. There are images of it on wikis, if I recall correctly. Let's see, ammunition, Battlestar Galactica. Let's see. Oh, that is for, okay, Vintage Viper. Oh, no, that is Colonial Viper Mark II. Let's see. So the cannons are actually 30mm cannons, which is sort of what they looked like. 30mm cannons with 800 rounds per gun. Let's see here. Where is the Battlestar Galactica wiki here? Galactica fandom, Viper Mark II. Let's see here. There was a particular episode that dealt with the sabotage of ammunition in colonial production. Let's see, false labor. Let's see, so Battlestar Galactica, ammo sabotage. That might bring up the correct image here. I definitely know that there was a screenshot for it. Armory. Let's see here. Machines in the army. Okay, here we go. Here's the best that we can get, I think. Let's see here. Okay, so this is the Viper ammo, the closest screenshot that I could get. The Viper cutaways are indicating there's a small fuel tank sandwiched under and between the engines. That is still very little propellant to me, at least relative to mass ratio. So this appears to be the Viper munitions right here. And these look about right for 30mm, although they might be a little heavier. This could also be point defense system ammo for the Galactica herself. So I'm not sure, but these might be the 30mm rounds, since I have no good scale comparison. There is no human hand available at the present time. Although I do know in that particular episode there was explicitly let's see here. Oh, there might be. No, this trailer is no good. Sabotage. Some episode. That doesn't even matter. Okay. Alright, so I'm unable to find a good comparison for the Viper's munitions. But it does appear to be a 30mm cannon. Okay, so I think what I would like to talk about now before I wrap up is my beef with fightercraft in general. So let's draw the Challenger, which was relative to the asteroid base. Let's see here. Relative to the asteroid base, it was at 0 velocity, and then it launched our fighter at it. So one of the issues that I see with almost any fighter operation is essentially one of, what are you better off spending mass for? You only have a certain limited amount of mass available to a ship. Mass dry that isn't propellant, which is available for housing weapon systems. Now, if we take a look at the effectiveness of the fighter that we were flying, notice that we had to essentially, we needed to have mass for the following things: ammo, a pilot, we needed to have our propellant, we needed to have life support. Let's see what else we needed to have. Yeah, so the primary things that come with a pilot are life support and the pilot mass itself. Now, if you have a drone, what you could do is you would still have ammo, you would still have propellant, and instead you would have the control system. And you already need a control system anyways. This one is going to be a heavier system, so we can put an arrow up here. But all of these other things, especially the weight of life support, is taken away. Also, your design parameters become much simpler. So if we looked at the fighter that we were flying before, it most likely was something like this. It had an engine on the back. It had a likely fins of some sort. It had an autocannon here, and it had these other wings. So because we have a pilot here, we have this entire chunk of craft that we must deal with when it comes to design. Now, imagine if we were simply able to strip down this craft and put all of the triple cannons that were here into the nose of the craft, and we were simply able to keep a control system armored in a box behind here and have the same wings for radiating heat and otherwise in effect. So there we go. We have already saved quite a bit of mass by having a drone. Also, here is the biggest thing that it weighs a lot more. So we have Delta V outbound. We have a Delta V combat. And we have Delta V return. And this right here is the killer that makes any sort of non-expendable or potentially non-expendable fighter craft a massive waste of mass. And when you're counting every single ton of your combat complement on your vessel, you do not want to be wasting time. So basically, if we are stationary with the Challenger here, and we have to launch this fighter, the moment it is done with combat operations, if it survives, and it destroys its targets, it will also have... Raker, welcome to the convoy. We will also have to have this. So we have a velocity outbound, and we have velocity return. And we will have all of this velocity expended during... wrong color. During combat. We have the velocity that we need to change during combat. Now a drone will have to do this anyways if it wants to dodge shots. But the fact that we even have to deal with the potential for a return means that this is a massive mass expenditure. And the Delta V for return, that mass, is going to outweigh the pilot and the and any sort of life support system. So this really is the biggest liability. Because, for example, say we neutralize the target here. After these drones are drifting with very limited Delta V, we could actually utilize the Challenger to recover any drones that were actually reusable. Or if the drones were damaged beyond repair, or I suppose economical repair, if there was any point in bringing them back, we would be able to recover them on our own, or perhaps use specialized, high-efficiency but low-thrust craft in order to recover those drones, if we really cared about that. So I suppose that this makes it so that recovery is not mandatory. It's not mandatory. Which saves a lot of headache, a lot of liability issues, and a lot of other things. And if you have a remote link that is within 1 light second or so of a distance from the drone to the command ship, so at least, approximately 1 light second or so, you would still have adequate lag that even if you didn't have an automated drone control system, aka an AI or an electronic intelligence, an EI, you would be able to still have a pilot operate these drones, which I would honestly say is a bit maddening, because most of these maneuvers that you are doing are done best with computer control. In fact, there is almost no reason to have a pilot in general. For example, when your vessel detects that there is a salvo of shells headed on an intercept course with it, using its own radar returns, the computer would know exactly what direction it could thrust in order to optimally reduce the amount of Delta V expended in order to dodge the shots exactly without using any extra Delta V, and also be able to quickly slew the guns in the correct direction. Also, in general, you must consider this. Why are the guns fixed on this fighter? Why could you not slew them and have them be able to rotate in any which direction off of the tip? Now, of course, this adds weight, and this becomes a question of weight economics. Is the gimbaling mechanism worth it? When your drone is also likely able to be incredibly maneuverable, and almost either way would probably be able to... The weight saved on a gimbaling mechanism would give you potentially enough delta V to enable these dodges. Now, one other thing that isn't really considered is that these are kinetic projectiles. But what if we have energy weapons? Like lasers or particle beams. Gimbals are never worth it unless you're on a large ship, my opinion. That may be the case. In general, gimbals are very heavy, and they add a point of failure. And if you're already manufacturing a drone, you might as well skip on the gimbal and use the gimbaling of the motor for any sort of control for that. So, we survived as a fighter in the assault scenario because these turrets were dumb. Their ballistic calculation formulas were incredibly simple. They detected our velocity, they calculated where to shoot as a lead, and then they would shoot ahead of time. So they would attempt to match velocity with their projectiles in the position where we would be in the future. And all we had to do was just burn and change our velocity, and this projectile path would be utterly invalid. Now, as we got closer, the very fact that we were closer meant that we had, 1, less time to react, and 2, the scatter, and also just the very property of how big our craft is, meant that we would have been hit no matter what. Basically, the error, it would be so little lead to hit the center point of the craft that the math would mean that this distance right here would actually be the lead distance. So because it's targeting the center of our craft, it would essentially be still hitting the tip of our craft because the lead distance is so small. Here the lead distance might be several craft long, whereas here the lead distance might only be a fraction of our craft, and thus we would be hit no matter what. Because by the time the projectile leaves the barrel, aiming towards our nose, it would basically impact. So, but with laser weapons and particle weapons, this is not even an issue. Light speed lag, or targeting, if it was at 1 light second, you would already be dealing with such incredible distances and such incredible need for power for the typical visible spectrum laser, or you would have so little containment of particles. So, for example, if you have a particle beam, it means you have particles being launched by an accelerator, and then likely neutralized. Now, these particles have energy, and that energy is not only directed forward by the sheer acceleration, but they also have some temperature to them, which means they have random motion imparted on them. So what happens to your particle beam as you shoot it out of your particle beam emitter is it slowly begins expanding. It begins expanding, and thus the density of the particles that are going to be impacting is reduced. And this at light second distances, and when I say light second, I mean the distance, or I mean the speed of light, so which would be c, multiplied by 1 second, which would give us a distance. That's the distance that it takes for light to travel in 1 second. Ah, Super Sparta XYZ, welcome to the convoy. Temperature makes random motion. Indeed, basically temperature is random motion. It's the energy inherent to a particle. It is the entropy inherent to a particle. Only at absolute zero will a particle have no motion. But anything going through a particle accelerator will have an incredible hot temperature, which will likely not be avoidable. So you will end up having beam scatter, in addition to any electromagnetic repulsive forces. So because So here's the thing. To run in a particle accelerator, we generally need something like this. So imagine we have a series of magnets here, or something akin to this, or electrostatic attractors. Oh, because temperature itself is represented how fast or slow an atom moves. Indeed, Super Sparta. That is essentially the point. So let's just say we have a particle with 0 energy here. And this particle is actually a positively charged ion. Now we're going to either use a negative charge plate or a magnetic field. So we're going to turn this on, and this particle will gain velocity this way. This is how railguns basically work, with giant slugs of metal. Then we're going to turn this off once that particle is already inside of this accelerator. And then we will turn on this one right here, and we will turn it off once the particle is within it. And then we will turn this one on and turn it off. Now we could, we'll turn it off. And one of the things you can do is have a particle accelerator that is built in a circle, and that is an accelerator ring or accelerator oval. Now the main difficulty is whenever you turn a particle, it actually emits energy. That is one of the properties of basically yanking a high energy particle around. It will dump energy as it turns. So there is a very strict limit to what you can do with a particle accelerator like this. But in general, either with a linear or a circular particle accelerator, you are able to move a charged particle to a certain velocity. Now say we wanted to shoot this particle beam. We've gotten this particle moving ridiculously fast, and now we want to dump it out the barrel. What we do need now is a way of focusing it, so we have a focusing magnet or plates. And then we essentially turn off this system that's used for turning. And thus the beam will continue unimpeded and straight, and then be collimated. Now, one of the issues is this. The moment this highly charged beam, which is 2 particles which are both positive, and wingmates, you should understand that positives repel, or like charges repel. Like charges repel. So, this means that this beam, which is all positive ions, say for example lithium ions, or hydrogen ions, or whatever else you are using, this beam will immediately want to basically explode, because it really cannot be coherent. So what you need to do here at the end is you need to apply electrons. You need to essentially neutralize the beam. And that way, this particle beam suddenly gains electrons. Well, technically, electron clouds, you have your atom, and then you have the cloud of probability of electrons around it. But the point still stands, is that you need to add electrons to the mix to make sure that it's only the temperature at that point, or just kinetic energy. Well, kinetic energy is temperature that is pushing apart these particles. But basically, that was an enormous digression from the fact that these laser and these particle weapons are going to have velocities that are close to, or practically speaking, instantaneous in the sense of light speed. So if you have a fighter that is 1 kilometer away, a particle beam or a laser will have no trouble simply pointing its optics or its collimator at it and blasting it apart. When you delve into energy weapons, including toroidal plasma guns, also known as tokamaks, or spheromax, depending on what you want to call. So a plasma gun. Now, people will say, you can't have a plasma gun. You can't have a plasma gun because plasma is a superheated gas, so the moment it enters a vacuum, it will expand into nothingness. That is true, wingmates, that is true. But what you can do is you can create a donut of plasma. And that is a toroid. That's why it's called a toroidal plasma gun. And basically, when you have a plasma toroid, the very motion of the hot gas within the toroid creates a magnetic field due to electron and plasma motion that actually helps bind together the plasma donut. And in essence, that would look like something like this in its charging chamber. There would be I suppose, electrodes, both on the outside and on the inside of the barrel. And the plasma toroid would be accelerated this way, and would leave the barrel and would have a rotation of plasma within it that would keep it intact. Now, as the plasma toroid loses energy, it will, of course, because this process is inherently wasteful, the very energy being utilized within the plasma toroid to keep itself functional will dissipate, and eventually it will simply expand and eventually just collapse into nothing but gas. But even a plasma toroid can be launched. This could also be called a plasma coil gun or rail gun. Let's call it a plasma rail gun, because it's basically launching an armature of plasma instead of metal, utilizing the same, I suppose, electrodynamic principles. And these plasma railguns would also generally have high velocity because the mass is so low that you are able to take energy and have... So energy is equal to 1/2 mv squared. So if we drop the mass by a lot, the same amount of energy will proportionally give us more velocity. Unfortunately, we do have a cubic squared law here, so we aren't getting nearly as much as we want. But because the mass of a plasma toroid versus the mass of a railgun slug is so much less, and we're using the thermal effects of plasma to do damage, we are actually able to have very aggressive velocities. So we can use lasers, we can use particles, and we can use plasma railguns in order to simply intercept any of these very weak, poorly armored craft that would have very few defenses against 1, lasers, 2, particles are very hard to defend with anyways, and even against plasma toroids, I doubt they would have significant amounts of sheathing, which would vaporize and protect against the toroid. Either way, there would also be some very interesting static charge effects that would occur. So in general, you are better off using a drone because this is so dangerous when it comes to practical defensive measures, or just use missiles. See, that entire asteroid fiasco that we had, where we had a gunfight with turrets, this could have been resolved very readily by launching some warheads, or in fact, even just utilizing our long-range batteries, because this asteroid base has 0 velocity, and it had no acceleration. So we could have simply hammered away at it with our gunfire, even though it would have been less and less accurate due to the scatter that occurs at range. But as long as we kept our fire rate slow, we should have been able to hammer away at these. There are a few problems that can't be solved with a nuke, indeed, especially with a shape-charged nuke or a Kasaba howitzer as they are known. Alright, wingmates, I think that is enough spieling for now. Do you have any questions or any clarifying statements that you would like for me to make? As I have gone over a number of things here, and I think my madness is perhaps palpable. But I am more than willing to explain anything else that you would like. A question a bit unrelated. Are wings useful in space? Check a Plato. So, wings are useful depending what you're using them for. Typically, wings in space are used as radiators. So, for a spacecraft, let's just use a classic conical-shaped spacecraft. Do energy weapons using the electron field dissipate over distance? Yes, well, the plasma toroid, specifically, because this one's quicker to answer, the plasma toroid simply loses energy as it travels. So the containment within the toroidal field itself becomes less and less. And in general, it simply dissipates energy through the fact that it is a very hot thing, so it has infrared radiation and other forms of radiation, but it also simply needs that energy to keep itself contained, and it is going to waste it, and eventually it will dissipate. It doesn't dissipate over distance necessarily, it dissipates over time, because it has a limited lifespan, of being able to keep the tokamaks torioid intact. Oh, yes. So wings do have multiple purposes. So typically, well, one of the principles of RCS, so yes, you can map them with the Star Fury, but I suppose those are more like pylons. Yes, the Star Fury has pylons, but in general, when you have the center of mass of a craft, which is essentially the point around which it will rotate in space when in free fall, it is always good to have a long lever arm, and a lever arm is essentially the distance between a pushing motion and the center of some kind of mass. So if you have a thruster on the very tip of the nose of this craft, or on one of these wings, for example, you actually get a decent lever arm, because the torque is equal to, well, it's actually a cross product, but it's the distance right here, the distance in green, times the force applied. I think it should be a cross product, but I can't explain cross product right now. But going back to what else wings can do, let's just say we have our craft's atomic reactor here. Now, because we can't use, so the normal ways of cooling things would be air, contact, and this is something like direct contact, or radiation. We have no air and we have no contact because there is nothing else touching the craft in a vacuum. So all of this heat needs to go somewhere, and the only thing you have is radiation. So what happens is when something is hot, essentially it essentially radiates. If you have ever seen an electrical stove, or perhaps a red hot piece of metal, or a white hot piece of metal for that matter, you are seeing the red spectrum of light being emitted by the atoms within that metal, and so you get red and you get infrared. And forgive me if I am wrong, but there may also be some kind of UV radiation coming off of it. But primarily the energy dump will be infrared and in the red spectrums. Although, do not quote me on UV. Maybe there is a little bit of UV. Because when electrons change their orbitals from one energy state to another energy state, they will emit a photon. And that is basically what is happening. The electrons that are within this hot metal are changing their... I'll have to get back to you on that, but yes, essentially there is emission of photons. So let's just say we have this reactor. It is hot and it's going to melt down because the reactor needs to be cooled. So what we can do, Chakapleto, is through this wing, we can run, and this will be typically some kind of material that is transparent to IR, at the very least. And this means that this material could be some kind of durable composite or ceramic that allows infrared light to pass through it. And there are ceramics like that. And basically what would happen is this part, it wouldn't get much... Let's see here. It wouldn't get much cooler, but it would be cool enough to operate, to get a reactor cooled down. And basically, as long as the delta T of the coolant in the radiator is enough to capture the energy of the waste heat of the reactor, then you will be able to maintain this state. So that is a very important point of wings. And the reason you want them to be wings, in essence, is because you need a thin sheet, and preferably one that has two sides to it. So if we look at the cross section, the coolant would pass through passages here, and it would radiate in all directions. Whereas if you only had a radiator mounted, say, for example, on the surface here, let's draw a cross section. If it was only mounted like this, you would in essence be losing out on quite a bit of your radiation potential. And some of it would in fact want to go back into the craft, especially if it's something very hot. Now, you would also probably want what we would describe as smaller wings that are used for the crew. So for example, if the crew is here, if the crew of the craft is right here, the temperature here, the temperature reactor is far, 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 far greater than the temperature of the crew. So let's just say this is like 1300 K, and this would be 26 Celsius. Well, let's just go with 1200 Celsius. Imagine trying to remove heat that was making this compartment 30 degrees Celsius, which is starting to get uncomfortable for the crew, and trying to somehow pump it into this radiator. You don't do that. You have a separate radiator, which takes your crew heat, does the exact same radiation, and brings it back. But here you can use a completely different alloy. So this is a different alloy, which is optimized for these particular temperatures and will definitely be cheaper. So a spacecraft should have wings, but the wings are really radiators. Now, of course, if you do have some kind of spaceplane, like, you know, a craft that is meant to operate both in the vacuum of space and within atmosphere, then you do need wings. However, in general, wings end up being a liability that can be shot off, that can be damaged by micrometeorites, that adds to your moment of inertia for rotation, and that adds extra bracing that you must do. In general, the optimal spacecraft design will probably be a sphere, a sphere or some kind of pointed conical thing, a box, or a cylinder, or perhaps even a toroid that is flying in space. There are a number of optimized designs, but wings in general do not factor in, unless you mount RCS thrusters on them, but in that case, you are probably better off gimbaling your engine, or you need to make sure that these are incredibly rigid. A sphere is the most efficient shape for surface area relative to volume. But volume does not necessarily correlate to mass. But because surface area is something that has mass, this actually does mean that it, in essence, does correlate. So because if you have more armor, and say for example, you need more armor, like a cube will have more surface area than a sphere. This will take more mass to armor than the mass here. Also, do you prefer lag or lead ballistic pips? Let's see here. Well, that is an interesting question, Rick Air, because I would say that you're always leading, especially in space. You would probably be always leading the target, depending on what their velocity is relative to you. Because I suppose lag is sort of a concept that comes from fighter combat, whereas in space you are essentially always gimbaled, and you always have a relative velocity that is positive. So you're always leading the target. You're always trying to get your munitions to reach the point where the enemy would have been, and hopefully they won't maneuver by that time. And I'm glad that helped. Chaka Plato. I'm glad that helped. But in general, there is nothing wrong with wings as long as they serve either the purposes of. So let's summarize here. So wings, you can use them for RCS / maneuver. Although this is questionable because you may be able to use the mass of wings for something else. Oh, sorry, I should have been clearer. Lag calculates based off your velocity, and lead calculates your pip based on your enemy's velocity. So if you are fighting in a vacuum, you don't really have a velocity, you have a relative velocity. So I would say that in a sense, there is no lag and there is no lead. There is just the pip, because there is only one velocity relative to you. So for example, if we are headed this way and our enemy is headed this way, if we assume a reference frame, where we are stationary and the enemy is not, then essentially we simply add on our velocity nose to nose, or yeah, nose to nose with them, and that gives us our final relative velocity. So it is a lead because we would be shooting here somewhere, because our enemy is going this way relative to us, and our velocity does not really mean anything because it is always about reference plane or reference frame. Reference frame. Reference frame is the most crucial thing in zero-G combat. But okay, so wings, they help with RCS or maneuver. They can be used for cooling, and this is probably the biggest point of a wing. Almost all craft have to have radiators like that, and you could potentially use them for a weapon mount. But this is highly unlikely, as it's a good way of getting your weapon shut off, and you will also have far less armor. So wings do have a purpose on spacecraft, but primarily as radiators. And for those that are capable atmospheric flight, for atmo flight. And so that is my judgment on wings. They are necessary primarily for radiation and or for maneuver in case your craft really requires a lever arm. But in case your craft is the typical cylindrical shape, your lever arm is most likely best simply at the ends of the craft itself. You don't need to add a secondary lever arm. Hello, Dual Bore. Welcome to the convoy. How much does the idea of bioships bug you when in stories? You know what, Dual Bore? I'm actually not really bothered by bioships. So, if we think about how to simulate the functions of a vessel, in biological terms, you could, in essence, have a bioship, as long as the skin of it is airtight, which is more than possible with the correct sorts of organic substances, coatings, chitin, and other impermeable things. Let's see here. For radiation, it is plausible that an organism could have its own form of radiation utilizing thin membranes and passing coolant through them. Propulsion, I suppose it is possible to develop an organic reactor that would use some sort of mineralized compartment that would allow for durability, and for intelligence. Biology already is ahead of most electronic intelligence, simply due to its nature. So I am not exactly bothered by bioships. And in fact, I will say this, Dual Bore. The Jovian Wars were a conflict of humanity versus their creations, which had at that point developed their own bio-cybernetic ships. Now, they were not truly bioships because at the time their drives were rather primitive, so they'd end up using essentially fusion drives with the rest of the chassis being grown inside of their vats. But the Jovians were able to utilize partial biological construction, and it would not be beyond them, I believe, for the Jovians to have at some point considered a fully growable organic craft. In a sense, it is the use of a nanofabricator, but utilizing cellular transportation mechanisms. For example, you could use nanomachines to construct a spacecraft very slowly, rather than welding it together or utilizing certain factory processes. But inherently, cellular processes are nanomachine processes. So, given the correct direction, it is difficult to distinguish an advanced nanomachine-filled vessel from an advanced biological vessel. The primary issue is materials, radiation, and, I suppose, airtightness, and how a biological creature would create offensive weaponry. Now, the Jovians primarily utilized missiles, which were miniature vessels that were intended to be sacrificial, and they were also cybernetic in some sense, because they frequently had atomic warheads that were produced in a mechanical manner, although they were developing organic atomic warheads at a certain point. Because again, the nanomanufacturing of something is very similar to the biomanufacturing of something. So, Dual Bore, in essence, I am not bothered because there is historical precedent for bioships. And we pray that the Jovians were truly destroyed, because while the growth of a ship is oftentimes slower than the construction of a ship, even in a factory line in orbit, or even on the ground, the fact that bioships can essentially be fed and slowly grow in a much less complicated manner means that the factory, because the construction, the difficulties of construction of a bioship are primarily inherent to its to the actual encoding of the instructions to construct it, as in the genetic or other material utilized as instructions by the cells or other bioorganic, I suppose, components that are constructing the inherent structure. That is the most complicated thing, but once it is complete, the moment something can grow and has the proper nutrients, such as hydrogen, it has minerals, and it has whatever else it needs, typically water, you can grow these organic vessels. And the other thing that is terrifying about bioorganic vessels is if their neural system is distributed significantly enough, which is far easier than the command and control systems, even in triplicate redundancy of a conventional spacecraft, they are more difficult to kill in some sense. And the fact that they do not necessarily require travel to a dock in order to engage in some sort of systems repair, because they are capable of, typically, to a limited extent, scabbing over and healing and patching up certain wounds. Although this does take a significant amount of time, although in interstellar timescales, this is not too much of an issue. Bioorganic ships like those of the Jovians can be incredibly terrifying. Also, apologies, I had to hydrate a little bit. So, one of the other things about bioships, is that, let me get a new layer here. So if we have our bioship, let me get a nice dark green here. Has anyone asked you to review any bioships yet? No, Dual Bore, I don't think I got any bioships in my review. Although, for reviewing the Tyranid bioships, I do not think I would be capable of doing that because their principles of navigation are simply a little bit crazy. So, for example, let's take a general idea of a Jovian bioship. So, it would probably have a huge amount of mass dedicated to reaction mass, because these vessels have unfortunately lower delta V. But it would likely have a much more, essentially the way that a crab has chitin or an insect has chitin, there would probably be some kind of mineralized compound here for whatever the drive is. Now, the drives would likely also be very primitive to some extent, since they would likely be something interesting like a nuclear saltwater rocket or an organic plasma drive. But that would essentially have to involve very complicated processes. So let's assume a nuclear saltwater rocket. In essence, there would probably be an expendable, there would essentially be the nuclear salts within the primary propellant tank and water within the primary propellant tank of the Jovian craft. Now this is nice because water is a very readily available substance. Now the Jovian vessels, and let me just write down here, Jovian bioship. It also has no requirements for crew because it would have a mind of its own. And the neural system of it, which I will label in a magenta, would likely be distributed all over the vessel, depending on which components it had, although likely nowhere near this radioactive section. And in essence, because of the extreme radiation present in almost all typical forms of effective spacecraft propulsion, the Jovian bioships most certainly have specially adapted cells, which have in this general zone, not only utilizing lots of water to shield the rest of the cells here, but the reproductive rate of these protector cells acting as a shadow shield for the rest of the Jovian bioship would likely be capable of incredible reproduction and incredible DNA repair. So these would be the DNA repair cells to protect from the drive of the bioship. Now, because the neural control of this vessel is so distributed, the rest of the vessel can be dedicated to armor and to weaponry. Now, typically, because this vessel is actually capable of just stating its own projectiles, it would likely have on the outside of it, I'm going to label this in bright green. This, as armor, would be expendable biomass. So, in the light green, we have biomass. And this would simply be a slurry of various minerals, organic substances, and essentially food for the ship and for its weapons. And because there would also be an incredible amount of mineral slurry in this, the vessel would be able to gestate projectiles for itself. So if you, for example, if the Jovian bioship, for example, had a launcher here, essentially just a ventricled launcher for a missile or something like that, the missile itself would be very similar to a Jovian biovessel, but it would also be possible to gestate it on board utilizing the mass reserves that it has. Essentially, the ship, these ships are fat. They have fat in the sense that they have energy reserves for their metabolism and for their, and it also acts as armor. Now, of course, there are different layers to it, but this outer chitinous plating now is also backed. This is akin to torpedo defense in World War II battleships, because water slurries have an incredibly high melting point. They, or I suppose heat of evaporation. It takes a lot of energy to vaporize them. So this particular bioslurry coating, or bioslurry armor, would actually be fairly effective against lasers or even projectiles. Now, granted, the question is, how much delta V do these ships have? And how much of their mass is effectively combat capable? And the answer is that their combat capability is lower, but their mass production is far higher. And that is the big advantage of the Jovians. I was thinking of something odd like the ship from the show Lex. These Jovians sound like really spooky folk. Luckily, as far as we are aware, they were all destroyed in the Jovian conflict that the early United Earth was able to wage against them. So the Jovians were actually originally bio-warriors. In essence, imagine, so the early warring states that came after the atomic crises in the 23rd century, they essentially developed biomachines. Some of them developed biomachines, which were living organisms that were entirely created for the purpose of warfare. So this means they had no reproduction. They had limited brain capability, only tuned to the tactical needs they had, and they even had biological weapons, or sometimes grafted on ballistics. So they were sometimes cyborgs, and there were many different implementations of these biomorphs. But the big issue was when sentient biomorphs were developed. And I forget which particular nation it was that developed the sentient biomorph. Oh, and one other thing. Biomorphs typically did not have a digestive process per se. They did not have a mouth or something. They had essentially a biological slurry that they utilized as fuel. And in fact, these were so high energy density fuels that they straight up had exhaust in many of the biomorph iterations. Oh, and of course, I apologize. The Jovian ship would also likely have to cool this shell here. It would likely have fins or spikes that would have hot coolant. Now this would be only semi-biological. It would be primarily systems grown, but no longer alive. It kind of like deer antlers or something like that, although antlers are fed for a long time. Essentially, this would be a non-living component of the Jovian bioship, but if need be, a broken one could be replaced by having something grow around it. Although likely the ship would not be able to use its engine. Like hair or nails, yes, in essence. These would be crystalline structures generated. But in essence, the sentient biomorphs were able to, at that point, take over the process of their own evolution. And that is where things got scary. Eventually, the biomorphs were defeated on Terra, using heavy atomic weaponry and of course, lots of sacrifice. By that time, they were able to actually get into space. And the moons of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and even some of the Martian habitats were able to provide them with adequate space for their growth. And it was decades after their exile from Earth that they were able to actually become a capable threat, because these ships are very slow to grow, but especially due to the need to collect resources. But in general, the Jovians were able to amass enough forces to seriously threaten Earth and attempt to reclaim it for a more optimal biomass harvesting. And at that point, no one understood the motivations of the Jovians other than that they were in all likelihood attempting to destroy humanity or at least take over Earth. Did the Jovians stay as a cohesive force, or did they split up at all? As far as we are aware, the Jovians that were specifically... so Jovian refers to the fact that they are around Jupiter. The demonym, or demonym. The demonym is a term that means someone... it's a noun, it's a proper noun representing where someone is from. So for example, an American is someone from America. That's a demonym. And the Jovians, they were primarily clustered around Jupiter. The Jovians, they, as far as we understood, they were a cohesive force. Now, one of the interesting things is that they did have something of a hive mind, but one of the fascinating things, because they were originally developed by human beings, they actually used classical radio waves to communicate. They actually have biological mineral antennas within their bodies that allow them to communicate. So even the Jovian ships would have their own biological antennas that they would utilize for communications. And we were able to pick those up. However, because they did not use binary, we have no idea. To this day, the Jovian communication system is completely incomprehensible. There are recordings, and they sound more like whale song than they do like radio transmissions. It sounds like utter gibberish, and there is no pattern that we have been able to distinguish. And to this day, there are crowdfunding efforts for hobbyists attempting to distinguish what the Jovians were actually saying in their communications that we were able to pick up. So that is what I think about bioships. All right. Well, wingmates, I think I've actually talked a little longer than I expected, and I would like a bit of respite. So why don't we look at our IFF transponder and see who we can raid? 1 second, please, wingmates. All right, here we go. If anyone has any recommendations for a raid, please let me know. Right now I'm going to take a look at my current IFF transponder list. Let's see here. Okay, we have Crimbo. Crimbo's online. We have Mackenzie. We have Picky is online. Bunzel. Guardian Zay. Cali Calico. And Egg. If any of those sound interesting, please let me know. And thank you for attending, wingmates. I absolutely appreciate your presence. And let me once again plug the game that I was playing earlier. There we go, Thust and Shoot. It's a very good way of developing a feeling for thrust vectors. I'm glad you like that, Chacapleto. And for any wingmates who are currently not following, please feel free to hit the follow button if you would like any further ramblings of mine to be notified of them. I would do my best to let you know when another stream is coming up, but unfortunately circumstances have been rather difficult, and I have been out of communications range with the JumpNet network. Callie does sound good. Ah, I'm glad that you will be implementing those training that in your training sessions, Ricare. I hope that you enjoy that. Yes, that information is rather handy. Ah, and Corpse, good to see you here. It has been a little while indeed, and I hope that in the future I will at least be able to continue this sort of pace and not have any less pace. Hey, Randon, good to see you here. Well, thank you, I appreciate it, and Dual Boar, thank you too. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your presence and for putting up with my mad ramblings. So I'll go over the IFF transponder list again if anyone has any raid suggestions. Crimbo, let's see, Crimbo, Mackenzie, Hickey, Bunzel, Zay, Callie, and Egg. Actually, let me talk about the content then. Crimbo is currently playing Monster Hunter Rise. Let's see here. Mackenzie is playing Super Mario World. Picky is playing Tokimeki Memorial. Bunzel is doing Hunter, Call of the Wild, and I think that might actually be a collaboration. Zay is playing Hades. Callie is playing Devil May Cry 1 HD. And Egg is playing Victoria 2. Or Vicky 2. So if any of that sounds interesting, please let me know. In the meantime, I will flounder helplessly, while my mind is unable to comprehend who I wish to raid. Let's see here. Who have I not raided in a while? Let's see. Although I have never raided Mackenzie personally, so that might actually be interesting. Let's see here. Picky appears to be going. Oh my goodness, Picky has been at it for 7 hours and 15 minutes. My goodness. Let's see here. Random number generator? I think we will have to go with random number generator, wingmates. Okay, let's do random number generator. Or random picker, that is. Let's see. Random selector. I really should have this on standby. I know my weakness. Okay, here we go. Okay. Allow me to prepare this, wingmates. Let's see, so here we have Crimbo. Now, if only I could do a weighted list that reflects that I have already visited some individuals. Here we go. We have Picky, Mackenzie. Let's see here. Bunzel. Bunzel, Zay, Callie, Egg. Bunzel, Zay, Callie, Egg. Bunzel, Zay, Callie, and Egg. That spelling is atrocious. I am so glad you cannot see this, wingmates. That is something to be kept secret. I have never actually raided Mackenzie, Corpse. I have seen a bit of Mackenzie, but I think that would be an interesting raid. If any of them have raided you recently, could raid them back. It's been quite some time since I've had any sort of raids, and I don't remember who. I think I've been distributing my raid backs as much as I can, but I think Mackenzie might be interesting to raid. So let's try that, wingmates. I think that is now that a choice has been forced, I think I will have that crystallized in my head. So let's do that, wingmates. Let me get Mackenzie's channel name. And of course, wingmates, if you have a different content that you would like to see, please feel free to see another VTuber. I am or even a streamer. I am absolutely not against that, and I know that everyone's tastes are unique and different. And I thank you all for being here with me, with my particular tastes. Alright. So I will get you the raid message shortly, wingmates. Let me initiate the raid itself. Raid Mackenzie. Here we go. Allow me to provide you with the raid message, wingmates. Oh goodness, where is my... Should be right here somewhere. There it is. Excellent. We have a nice raid message. Right, wingmates. Let's see here. So, thank you everyone who has attended today's data transmission, and I hope to have another one for you soon. Perhaps more ramblings about starships, as it is one of my favorite topics. Or perhaps a physics lecture. Let's see. Just make sure that, as always, you keep your propellant tanks topped off, that your jump calculations are accurate, and always fly safe. Gorian, night-night to you. Good night to everyone. Alright, wingmates. I will hopefully be back soon, and in the meantime, I hope that you enjoy Mackenzie or whoever else you would like to enjoy this particular evening, and that you get some good rest if that is coming up for you. Alright, let's begin the raid. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, commencing raid.